Hey guys, it's Courtney from Cosmic Clarity Astrology, and I'm here to talk to you today about Venus retrograde. Woo! One of my least favorite things that we experience about every year and a half. It lasts for 40 days. And isn't that also something in the Bible where they were like in the desert for 40 days and 40 nights and like didn't have water or something? Christians, you can let me know in the comments down below what the deal is with that. But there's something that Venus retrograde feels, or there's something about that Venus retrograde mirrors, where the things that make us feel really connected to one another, that make us feel really alive and juicy and sensual, and the things that we really love and that we really desire and how we appreciate life. When Venus goes retrograde, all of those things can sometimes feel harder to reach. It can feel like we might feel disconnected from the people around us, or the things that once brought us desire might not bring us the same desire as they used to. And a period with a Venus retrograde is a time for us to reflect on what do we value, what do we prioritize, and how are our desires from the past holding up now at this point in time. And this is going to be especially true when it comes to issues surrounding love, because Venus rules over relationships, money and our choices around money, overall value systems, as well as our beauty and our appearance, because Venus rules the aesthetics. So these are the areas that are most disquieted during a time like this when Venus is retrograde. They're the most under the microscope. And again, this is a time for us to really ask ourselves and reflect, how do my desires hold up now? So let's get into this. So Venus is going to be retrograding from March 1st, starting at 10 degrees of Aries. It will station to go retrograde, and then it will be retrograde until April 12th. At that point, it has reached 24 degrees of Pisces, where it will station direct. So the days where Venus is moving quite slowly, so when it's kind of slowing down or when it's stationing around the 1st and around April 12th, are going to likely be days where things are felt a little bit more, because a planet that isn't moving can generate a little bit more attention and energy in our lives. If you have any planets, especially around that 10 degrees of Aries, this is going to be felt on a very personal level, because you, again, are going to have Venus just kind of sitting there in the sky on top of 10 degrees of Aries and whatever that planet is in your chart. And it's asking you to really reflect on what you desire around that planet or that part of your life. So for example, let's say you have a sun at 10 degrees of Aries, you might be really reflecting on what you've been wanting in your career so far, and if you still have been enjoying your goals within your life, or if there are different priorities or values that you would like to start to emphasize in the year ahead. And during this 40-day period, Venus is giving us a chance to update our software and basically tell ourselves, okay, this is where I'm going to put more energy and attention. In general, it is recommended not to do any kind of major beauty changes, like getting a haircut even during this time, because I have seen people not really like what they did. Major purchases as well, because that's, again, related to money, which Venus rules, are not really recommended. And if you do get into a relationship at this time, you should kind of be aware that there is a potential for the relationship to not be starting off on a good foot. So when a planet is retrograde, and the meanings that planet signifies tend to become a little bit more dysfunctional, or they show elements of your past. So if you do meet someone during a Venus retrograde cycle and you start dating them during this month and a half, you might notice that this relationship doesn't have a lot of standing in your future because it's somehow tied to your past. And so there can be kind of a little bit of karma to work through around those types of relationships. Existing relationships tend to go through a lot more struggles during a Venus retrograde. And if you can make it past this, this does give you the chance to come together a bit stronger. But oftentimes, a Venus retrograde is there to show you the dysfunction in the relationship and help you either resolve it and create a stronger partnership, or break the relationship down to the point where you move in different directions. And I think that, many people will be going through some type of divorce or breakup, or be talking about those things in the month of March, because we're also having eclipses happening in this month. So we're having a lot of very dynamic energy, a lot of things that can shift our life in a moment's notice. And I think many of us will find that if there's been things that we've been dissatisfied with in our relationships, or in any kind of relationship, it doesn't have to even be a romantic relationship. It could be a friendship where things have been a little spotty. You might find that these eclipses stir all of that up and give you the chance to either resolve or leave the relationship. If you feel like you've been really kind of on the verge of wanting to say something to somebody, admit something, or if you've been on the verge of wanting to leave and start a new relationship or go somewhere else and separate somehow, this eclipse season and Venus retrograde happening at the same time could very much be that thing that pushes you over the edge and makes you feel ready for whatever that new venture is in your life. Usually, it's a little bit harder to have compassion for people during a Venus retrograde. Again, Venus is a planet that brings us together. So when it's no longer in its same faculties, when it's not at its strength, when it becomes a little dysfunctional, or just not as strong as it normally is, we find that this understanding and compassion and desire for unity kind of goes out the window a little bit during Venus retrograde. People can be very transparent in a way that they might normally gloss over when Venus is really active, or really strong, because we can gloss over how we really feel. We can make things pretty when Venus is direct so that we don't rock the boat, because Venus rules over Libra, and there's a desire for this kind of homeostasis with Venus. But when it's retrograde, again, anything is kind of up for grabs, and Venus is in her period where she's getting to know, or reflecting on these elements of her life and getting to know herself more deeply. And there are the harder questions being asked at a time like that. So expect that there is going to be a little bit of bumpiness in this month ahead for all of March, and that Venus retrograde in and of itself is going to kind of ask you those harder hitting questions around what you desire, what you're looking for in your life, in your relationships, and if what you've been doing so far is reflective of how you feel now. Okay, so we're going to talk about this for all the signs, but before I do, I pulled a bunch of cards, and I do want to talk about kind of specific messages. First off, the fact that Venus is retrograding in Aries for the first 10 degrees, Venus is in its detriment in Aries. So, as a relationship planet, it doesn't really function that well in a sign about the self. Aries is a little selfish in the sense that they're focused on themselves. And I use air quotes around that because you can't just generally say that. But Venus, again, is a little bit more dysfunctional being in this sign. And on top of that, it's retrograding, which adds to that. So we're getting a little bit of like trouble in paradise when it comes to our relationships and when it comes to our normal, spending habits. It's almost like things kind of come to a head. So for example, if you've been having an existing issue in your relationship and you've been ignoring your own needs as an individual, Venus in Aries, you've been ignoring what your heart and your passion has been telling you to do. When Venus goes retrograde in this sign, it's going to make you a little bit more irritable. It's going to emphasize the fact that you're unhappy with something. It's going to make it pronounced in a way that feels unavoidable for you to just tackle whatever this is. So it is a lot about us reconnecting with our individual selves within our relationships in order to figure out how to be most aligned with the dynamics that we're in. And this is any kind of relationship, again, not just romantic partnerships. But again, this also comes to your relationship with yourself, because Aries is a sign about the self, and it's about confidence and moving forward with a lot of kind of determination and self-certainty and understanding of what do I want? What do I want out of life? And Mars has been retrograding for most of February and all of January. So I, as an astrologer, when I was doing my 2025 forecast for people, I was really looking at the start of this year as like March, because we're having all these retrogrades and nothing is, it's like stuff is kind of slowing us down. There's not a lot progressing on the external level when Mars is retrograding, where we're breaking new ground and things are moving forward super fast and super well. Usually it's more of a period where we feel like we're stagnating, or we're not as confident or not as sure about ourselves, or we're not as inspired to take action. We're taking some action, but maybe we don't get the results that we're looking for yet. So really, like, the start of the year has been kind of March time. And now Venus is going direct, literally day 1 of March. Or sorry, retrograde. So we're still kind of in a little bit of a phase of self-analysis where, you know, we've had these last 2 months to reflect on our projects and our work and the things that we put our energy into. And we maybe have had to clarify certain boundaries because Mars is retrograding through Cancer. Maybe we've had to clarify how we feel about certain things or how we go about certain things in our life when it comes to our projects and work. And now that Venus is retrograding in Aries, we're really reflecting on, does this same thing still spark joy? Or do I feel like there needs to be some kind of personal adjustment here? So it is a continued time of evaluation. I think it's really fascinating that, you know, the first quarter of the year is spent with these really major personal planet retrogrades, that it's kind of like slow down, like holding us in a chamber. And then I feel like once this quarter is done, we're going to blast off and so much is going to change in the rest of 2025. And it's already happening on a political sphere. A lot is changing. Things are still moving and changing. They always are. But during a retrograde period, it's a little bit like held back. The energy is not fully let out, because we are meant to be asking ourselves what needs to be done differently. We're in almost like a planning phase, or a reevaluation phase. So with Venus again in detriment in Aries, I feel like the elements of our life that we have become tolerant of, but we're truly dissatisfied at our core, we are going to lose that tolerance and we're going to feel fed up. Maybe something with ourselves, like maybe I'm fed up with the way that I look. Maybe I'm fed up with the way that my partner talks to me. Maybe I'm fed up with getting paid too little at my job. Whatever it is, we're going to feel like our values and who we want to be, or how we see ourselves, how we prioritize ourselves is somehow not being reflected either in our own action, in what we're receiving from the world, or what we are finding in our relationships, our partnerships. So there's going to be something here that shows a disconnect. And we're going to have to figure that out on an internal and external level at this time. Venus will also be retrograding through Pisces. It's an interesting change because Venus is exalted in Pisces. So we're going to start off with Venus really struggling, and we're still going to have a little struggle because Venus is still retrograde, but it's going to move into a sign where it's a lot more functional. So I almost feel like this is going to be a Venus retrograde that starts off really rough and then gets a little bit better over time and comes into a place of acceptance. Because I think we're going to start off really, really fed up. And then when Venus moves into retrogrades into Pisces, I think we're going to come into more of a surrender or an acceptance of how something is. Aries will spur the action. So for example, let's say I'm fed up with how I look and I want to change by, losing weight or dressing differently. So when Venus is retrograding through Aries, I'm going to be thinking about and actually taking steps to making those changes in my life. Then once it finally steps back into Pisces, we're going to experience a little bit more of this acceptance of the situation. So even though I'll still be doing those practices, there won't be as much of that frustration. There will be more of a review through a more compassionate and spiritual lens. So we'll be able to see, okay, I see kind of why I ended up like that. I see why I stopped dressing like this, or I see why I started to gain weight. And I'm more understanding and reflective of my soul in that journey, or my partner in this journey. And I can make peace around the situation for real healing to happen. And from that place, that's when we get this kind of cleansing experience, because we're no longer just fired up and resisting what is and frustrated and taking action to get out of it. That's super important when Venus retrogrades through Aries. But when it goes through Pisces, the healing can actually happen. So it's like, okay, now that I've told him I want a divorce, now that I've made this commitment to exercise more, now that I've decided to budget differently, now how can I heal the emotional reasons that got me into this place to begin with? How can I cleanse something on the emotional, spiritual, and energetic plane now that I've taken care of the material reality and made these important decisions in my life? So I really feel like there's going to be a lot happening that is going to ask us to be, first of all, very flexible with this joint card. Pisces is a mutable sign, mutable water, which is the most flexible besides maybe mutable air. But yeah, anyway, it's very flexible where Venus is retrograding partially. So we're going to have to be able to move and adapt with life, especially in March with these two eclipses happening, which I'll talk about in a later video. We're going to be having a lot of energy. Again, very dynamic month. So we're going to have to kind of be on our toes and be willing to make the necessary changes, be willing to let something go, be willing to, move to a new place or start a new habit or whatever that is. But there is a process with the cleansing where we're definitely going to have to let certain things go and be okay with that on an emotional level. And the joint card, when it comes to adaptability, the hardest part is often letting go of the familiar, letting go of what we know, what we're involved in on a day-to-day basis, what our mind normally thinks about, or the priorities that we normally have. A lot of that is going to have to shift during this Venus retrograde and during the whole month of March, really. And really throughout this year, because we're having a lot of significant transits, that's going to be a little volatile. But regardless, there's going to be a lot of changes that we need to be adaptable for. So I think the fixed signs might struggle a little bit more with this one. Even throughout this year, the fixed signs might struggle a little bit more. Okay, the other card that I pulled is this communication card, and talks about processing information and giving a carefully considered response. So I think that if the joint is advice to stay adaptable, this is your other piece of advice, is to not be like brash in the way that you communicate about something, because I feel like this Venus retrograde period, it's going to throw people off. It's going to kind of throw all these different things up in the air. And the more that we can be proud of how we come out of this experience and how we handled something is going to be, it's important, right? You don't want to feel like, oh, I really could have handled that better. And so when Venus is in detriment in Aries, and it goes retrograde on the 1st, that's kind of when things can get a little bit dicey. That's kind of when people are going to be a little bit more explosive or say things that they regret later. So I think, just being a little bit more aware of your communication, because I do think, this is one of the messages that's very clear here. I do think that there are going to be quite a bit of revelations when it comes to these Venusian topics, when it comes to our relationships and our values and how we've the things that we've been desiring and where that all comes from. We start off with the secrets card and we go to the truth. So I definitely feel like things that have been hidden from us, things that have been underneath the surface, or that we've been, again, kind of like downplaying and tolerating, all those things are going to come to the surface, especially during these eclipses. And they're going to force us to confront some kind of truth. This could signify that people are finally honest with themselves or their partner about what's really going on. I can see that with the Lovers and the Four of Swords reverse. If something has been kind of like status quo, or like let's keep the peace, or not a lot of energy, things have been happening, I think that's going to start to shift with the Four of Swords being in reverse. This isn't a period of contemplation anymore, and like let's sit behind the scenes and just think about what's the right decision? I don't know. All of it's going to become really activated. So if you've been thinking about something in your mind for a little bit, if you've been toying around with an idea or unhappy with something, again, all of this is going to be activated. And Venus in a cardinal sign, which is a sign of initiation, of starting something. I definitely think that all of that kind of calm energy is going to go out the window because there's no more thinking. Now it's the time of doing something related to something that you've been dissatisfied with in the past. So again, if you've been upset about what you've been, looking like for a few months, if this has been an ongoing thing, then during this Venus retrograde, you're like, I'm going to make this change. I'm hitting the gym. I'm buying a new wardrobe, Again, it's going to kind of depend on where Aries and Pisces falls in your chart. But I really feel like people are going to be bearing their hearts. People are going to be sharing what's really going on. I think that's going to break some relationships and bring some people stronger together. But there is going to be no more of this, I'm going to hide from myself, this fact that I'm unhappy. I'm going to look at, you know what I mean? I'm going to look at things head on. Okay, a few more cards. So we have the Five of Swords in reverse and Justice upright. So what I was saying, I think that there's a specific message for some of you guys with the Five of Swords in reverse and Justice upright. Some of you guys might be going through some kind of like contentious divorce, or there could have been some fighting in a relationship, or something in your life that's been giving you a lot of anxiety, or just like issues with relationships, issues with friends, issues with colleagues. This feeling of like, Five of Swords is just tension of some sort, maybe verbalized, maybe not. I think during this eclipse season, as well as Venus retrograde, I really think that this is going to start to come into a place of fairness. So if there's been something that has been going on that has been causing the fighting, that it is a result of some kind of inequality or some kind of betrayal or something, again, unfair in any kind of way, where it's been one person dominating the other, one person having more influence or more of a say, or getting their way, even though that's not right for whatever this case is. I see this stabilizing during Venus retrograde and like justice coming to somebody. So if there has been fighting, I feel like things could escalate potentially, but whatever does happen, it's like if this was a divorce, for example, I see like the person who was wronged coming out on top. Or it's likely not that simple, relationships are a little bit more complicated than the wronged person and the right person. But there's just something here about things becoming a little bit more fair. And I think it's as a result of, standing up for ourselves with Venus retrograding in Aries. And I did just look on my computer to see when Venus retrogrades into Pisces. That's on the 27th. So we're going to have March 1st to the 26th, I guess, 26th, 27th, where Venus is going to be retrograding through Aries. So we're going to have quite a bit of time in this sign for almost all of March for us to kind of take our power back in a way, stand up for yourself, like put your foot down with something and fight for equality. And I think this card really represents that this is something that's actually going to create less fighting somehow, like drawing your line in the sand and setting a boundary with somebody and being firm about something, I think is actually going to clear up a lot of the air in a way that creates less fighting or less confusion, because you're being honest and direct and truthful and requesting what you need and what you want. And then the consequences can come as a result of that if they're not willing to oblige. Okay, so another message here with the 10 of Wands in reverse and 6 of Cups. So I just feel like there's certain things that maybe people have been like very stressed about. And I think that this transition out of stress is going to actually happen, I think, after this March 27th to the April 12th. So March 27th to April 12th, when Venus will be retrograding through Pisces. This is when I think that people are going to start to lay the wands down with this card in reverse. So the things that have been really activating the adrenals, because Aries rules the adrenals. So I think a lot of stress can happen in relationships. Again, fighting and tension. We can be really uncertain of certain things that we want, or now we can be certain, but we have to fight for them. Whatever that looks like for you as an individual, I think that there is going to be more stress. It is eclipse season again, that in of itself can create stress by having change. So from March 27th to April 12th, when Venus finally moves into Pisces retrograde, I think this is going to be a period of a greater connection to our desire for rest, because with all of that kind of activation all throughout the month of March, I think we're going to be on just such high alert that we're going to come to a point of breakdown and just wanting the healing to begin, like I was saying before. So I think this is going to be the phase of healing where we're able to let go of some situation. We're able to put down the burden of something. Maybe we decide that we found some kind of resolution, that we found an answer, that we're not going to engage with something on that same level anymore. Something where you're like, I'm going to disconnect from this, or I'm going to ask for help so that I don't have to take all this on myself. And it gives the Six of Cups as a result, which is a lot more of this like childlike playfulness and getting in touch with what your heart desires and having more connection to, like, trying to reconnect to your dreams or to your creativity or to things that you do to replenish your soul. So I just feel like there's something here of like, we're going to be really engaged in fighting for ourselves. And then we're going to shift on the 27th onward to the 12th into a phase of healing and reflection and coming back to like replenish our inner child. And I feel like some of these really practical stuff with the Knight of Pentacles in reverse, like going to work every day and really hustling and being, you know, super consistent and super on the ball. I just feel like a lot of that energy is going to be, I don't know, it's like not really emphasized right now. Instead, we're being encouraged to really like make time for the Knight of Cups, which is the things that feel like they bring us passion. So, you know, I just started playing piano or, you know, drawing a little bit more. So that for me is like very Piscean in my chart and everyone's chart. That's a little Piscean. So like, what are some interests that you have that feel like they are romanticizing your life, that they're adding creativity, spirituality, fantasy elements, healing elements, ways to disconnect, ways to escape our life and come back to our soul and like why we're really here. And with the Two of Pentacles, I feel like when Venus retrogrades through Pisces, it will be a time for us to not only focus on that, but also realize that this is something that we need to make sure is a priority in our day-to-day life, that we're not just being practical, that we're not just sticking to our plans and our schedule and being super productive, but that we're also connecting to, again, the energy that makes our soul feel alive. And so I think that's a lot of what this retrograde period is about. Two distinct chapters here. The retrograde through Aries and the retrograde through Pisces, I think it's going to have a very distinct kind of shift because, again, Venus is in detriment in Aries and then exaltation in Pisces. So I think that a lot of us are going to kind of make waves in March. Things are going to be very dynamic. People might end certain relationships or shift priorities in certain ways, stand up for themselves and things that they really want, get tired of something and make the necessary change. And then March 27th to the 12th, I think we're going to focus on healing, on reconnecting to our passions, on uplifting ourselves, and all throughout this process, communicating really clearly what our truth is with those around us. So that's what I'm seeing for the overview for the retrogrades. Now let's go ahead and dive into what this is going to look like for all the signs. I'm thinking I might turn the camera down and do just the cards. If I do this and if you guys like it, please let me know in the comments down below. If you prefer the other way where I just hold them up, let me know that as well. Please also don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and comment down below if you feel like this pertains to you at all. I really love to hear. If you have planets at 10 degrees of Aries, really watch out for that station retrograde on March 1st. And also let me know in the comments down below how you experience this if you come back to it at a later date. And I will see you guys in the description box down below for all the time codes for all the signs. Bye. All right, so first we have Aries rising and sun. So for you guys, this Venus retrograde is going to be happening in your first house as an Aries rising and your 12th house. If you have any planets around 10 degrees of Aries or your ascendant around this sign, around this degree of the sign, then you are going to be feeling a lot of the emphasis of this retrograde period on a more personal level. You're going to be more personally impacted. Okay, so let's talk about what this is. So with a Venus retrograde through your first house, this is a time where you're likely reflecting on yourself. What do I want? How do I see myself? How do I value myself? The first house is also the appearance as well. So you could be having a desire to change up your physical appearance, or because the first house is the house of self, really anything related to yourself becomes priority. So maybe you want to shift something in your career. Regardless, whatever this is, relationships, anything, you're really under the microscope and asking yourself, what do I really, really want? The card that I have that is like the blockage for you right now is the Skull. So there's something in your life that I feel like you have been really stubborn with or adamant about. When I asked for clarification, I got the She Who Whispers, Secrets, Confessions, Confidant. So there's something here around you guys maybe being really stubborn with something that you are not wanting to admit to yourself, or you're not wanting to fully own something. So what I feel like is happening during this cycle, I mean, we can see it right here. I asked, what's the outcome? Like, what do you get out of this experience of Venus retrograde? And I got healing. So, and it has Aries on there as well. So whatever it is about you that you feel like you have been resistant towards something or stubborn about something, it could be the way that you see yourself or the way that you see something else. Something about this, you've been living in a little bit of illusion. You've been enabling a little bit of a farce or a lie to yourself. And with the Seven of Swords in reverse, I see that changing. So, I mean, you can ask yourself this now because we're so close to Venus retrograde, but it'll become apparent soon. You can ask yourself, what is it that I think I've been lying to myself about? What have I been in denial about or in an illusion about? What have I made excuses for? For example, if this is something with your health, you might be realizing that you've made certain excuses about not going to the gym or not following certain dietary recommendations by your doctor or whatever. And you might lie to yourself about how you're okay with that, or that's just temporary, and you're making no moves to change it. This could be anything in your life, though. This could be, again, career, whatever it is that you want, because we have a lot of going on with the 9 and 10 of Cups. It's a lot around like, what do you want? And what have you been lying to yourself about what you want? Because whatever lie you've been telling yourself is preventing you from getting what you want. For example, if you say, oh, I'm okay with eating this food, but you want to be a certain weight, that lie is preventing you from getting that desire. If you want a certain kind of relationship, but you are in an unhappy one, and you've been tolerating it and living in an illusion where you're convincing yourself that's okay, you're preventing yourself from meeting the right person by staying in the wrong relationship. So whatever this is, it's going to pertain to, you know, whatever comes to mind when you think what's the illusion I'm under, or what am I lying to myself about? So the first cards that I pulled here were the Chariot, the Five of Swords in reverse, and the Ten of Cups upright. So I really feel like things are going to be getting moving for you. If you feel like you've been, again, in some kind of like stasis with something, you are Mars ruled, and Mars has been retrograde for the last 2 months. So if you've been feeling, again, like something hasn't been moving forward, or you haven't been sure what you want, or you haven't been able to make a certain decision, I feel like this is coming to an end and you are getting clear on what you think about something or the direction you want to move in. It feels like, okay, I've decided. And this retrograde period is going to be part of what helps you decide by putting certain emphasis on certain things in your life that you're like, okay, I definitely don't like this anymore. I don't want this anymore. I don't enjoy this anymore. I'm not feeling good about this anymore. And so I'm going to commit to this direction. Or you could be inspired by something, especially with Venus moving through Pisces. But usually Venus retrograde is a lot about getting clear on what we don't want. With the Five of Swords in reverse followed by the Ten of Cups, I feel like this is you no longer being in any kind of anxiety. If you've been having some type of, altercation that involves another person, this Five of Swords in reverse can indicate this coming to an end and you coming into a peaceful conclusion about what it is that you want. And that's going to look different for everybody. Some of you, it could be unification. This is talking about relationship. For some of you, this could be separation. Whatever it is that brings you peace and bliss. I mean, it doesn't always have to feel super easy all the time, but it brings you to the thing that you desire. It makes room for what you desire. I feel like you're no longer having this internal conflict. The Five of Swords to me is somebody who's overthinking all the time, who's anxious, who's worried. I feel like you're coming into a phase of being very direct on your path. Like, you know your mission, you see it, you see the end goal, and you're headed there. Again, you haven't been like that for these last 2 months. This has been a period of contemplation, evaluation, maybe experimentation, where you're trying on different things, getting to understand yourself better with Mars retrograding. And now Venus retrograde, I think it's going to help you over this next month and a half. It's going to help you really solidify and clarify your goals and your sense of direction and make you feel a lot more like online, emotionally online. Like, I'm excited about this. I'm super engaged with this. Now I know where I'm headed. Now I know what the decision is and I can just move forward and not have to be, in this period of overthinking and worry. So that's what I feel like you're getting out of this whole experience. And that's going to be very healing for you, because being in the Five of Swords is really detrimental to your nervous system and to your health, because you're just in this phase of like flux where the mind is trying to figure something out that can't be really figured out. And it feels a little bit like we're out of control. And I think that coming into this phase with this healing, your mind is going to come into a much more settled place, and it's going to be more useful to you as a human to have your mind kind of directed towards your willpower and your desired focus. A lot of this is coming because you are no longer lying to yourself about what it is that you want. I think that you've always known kind of the direction you want to go in, even if all of the answers aren't clear. But with the Seven of Swords in reverse, I feel like part of this is like you weren't willing to fully own how you felt. Maybe you are lying to somebody else or just to yourself, or there could have been factors that were kind of unseen or unpredictable, and you were trying to figure out like, what are the next steps? What are the next steps with this? And so regardless, there's something about this where with Seven of Swords in reverse, you're coming into a period of clarity. So that person that you're with could be sharing something with you that makes the next steps really clear on where you're going. Or maybe you are no longer lying to yourself about what you really want, or whatever this is, or something could be just clarifying itself in the external reality. But I see you graduating from Knight of Cups to King of Cups, and coming from a phase of like thinking that this thing would be really nice and you daydream about it, to emotionally committing to that path. So it feels like you're having a period of acceptance of your path and an emotional investment in it, like graduating further into your emotional investment into something. And this is not a practical thing. Doesn't mean that you're doing all these things where you're like, okay, well, I'm going to do this and this and this, and that means I'm graduating in my progress towards that path or along that path. It means that emotionally, creatively, intuitively, you are feeling more alive and more aligned with a specific path than before. This could also mean graduating in terms of emotional maturity around something. So if there's something that you need to accept, if there's something that you need to let go, especially as Venus transits to the 12th house, if there's anything like that, if there's some kind of like struggle that you've been involved in with the Nine of Wands in reverse that you're needing to let go of, I feel like you're coming into more emotional stability or more emotional maturity. So there's some type of like emotional graduation where you're either more invested into what you want and you're clear on what you want, or you are like no longer being as maybe reactive around something because you've made some decision, you've had some clarity, and then it's like, okay, I don't have to be so reactive because now I kind of know where I'm going. And like, let's say, for example, you want to, I'm just using this because this is very classic for Venus retrograde. Let's say you want to break up with somebody. You've been wanting to do this for a while, but you've been really fighting yourself on this decision, really kind of back and forth, weighing all this pros and cons. And then you get to a point where you're just honest with yourself about how you feel, with a Seven of Swords in reverse, and you just realize, okay, I can't be in this anymore. It's time to just let go. And you graduate from Knight of Cups to King of Cups as you come into a place of emotional acceptance of the situation. You're no longer triggered. You're no longer trying to fight and trying to save the relationship. You're no longer in this push and pull dynamic. You're in a place where you become emotionally mature and settled, and you make peace with your partner, and you accept them for how they are, and you pack your bags and you move in a different direction. And it's not like this, you're not struggling against what you actually really need and want. It's an acceptance of it, and that allows you to be less triggered, less emotionally reactive, less stubborn with the Skull card, because there's just something that you've been like really fixed in your mind about, that you've been lying to yourself about. And it's like, now that you've accepted it, now that you're not stubborn and resisting something anymore, you're able to come into a much more emotionally settled place. And this leads you to the thing that you really want. With the Nine of Cups upright and the Nine of Wands in reverse, I feel like breaking this illusion, while there might have been a lot of resistance around actually doing that, it does let you release the struggle that you've been in and finally move towards the thing that you really desire. So a lot more is happening for you. A lot more is healing for you as a result of this. And again, this is likely going to impact, anything in your life around the self and the body. But also when Venus does move into your 12th, there is a lot more around kind of the phase of the surrender, the acceptance, the letting go that can happen. And I think a lot of that is the breakdown of the illusion. So that's what I'm seeing for you, Venus, or I was going to say Venus and Aries, but Aries rising and sun. If that makes sense for you, I'd love to hear from you in the comments down below. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up, subscribe, share with your friends, and have a beautiful day. All right, next we have Taurus rising and sun. For you guys, this Venus retrograde is going to be taking place for the first 27 days in your 12th house. Venus retrogrades through Aries from March 1st to the 27th. And then on the 27th to April 12th, it will be in your 11th house, whole sign, as it retrogrades through Pisces. What does this all mean? Okay. Well, first of all, I wanted to start off with what your blockage is. Let's talk about the cards first, and we'll integrate the astrology. So the hand is the blockage. It represents emotional or creative expression. So there is something in regards to your life where you may be a little bit too guarded. You may be not as trusting with people. And I asked for a clarifier of that, and I got powerful, devotion, and true worth. So there's something here where I feel like you guys might not trust your intuition fully, your creative expression fully, or might not open up fully in relationships and emotionally express yourself, because there could be some issues around self-worth. There could also be, with the She Who Remains aspect of this card, there could also be elements of remaining like stubborn, like holding on to the way that things are. Like, I've always been like this, so I'm going to continue to be like this. And that's a common theme for my fixed signs, especially for you, Taurus, as a fixed earth sign. It's like emotional memory of how things are that can block you from flowing into something new and better in terms of your relationships. This isn't just about relationships, though, because it's moving to the 12th house of spirituality and creativity. So there's something about your life that I feel like you've been a little bit rigid with, or not as adaptable with, when it comes to your creative, spiritual, or emotional expression. And I think it's ultimately caused a little bit of this fixed, this fixed energy. It just makes me think of like a skeleton or something that is really rigid, that doesn't bend, that doesn't move with the phases of life. And I feel like you guys are going to come into a really big revelation here and have clarity for the first time about yourself and about how you've maybe been holding yourself back in some way by trying to do what you've always done. The hand in astrology is ruled by Gemini, because Gemini rules over the hands, the lungs, the arms, things like that. And Gemini is the most curious and adaptable sign. So I think part of your medicine right now is curiosity and adaptability, and that's going to help you attach to your sight. And it's funny because this is Virgo, which is ruled by Mercury, the same planet that rules Gemini, which is a very curious and adaptable planet. So there's something here that I think you're meant to be seeing with a lot more scrutiny, like certain choices that you make in your life that you might be, again, kind of like holding on to something. With this World card, I feel like there's some type of cycle that's trying to end in your life, or I actually think for most of you, the cycle has already ended. And Venus transiting retrograde through your 12th house can bring up stuff from the past. The 12th house is often where things kind of get put to rest, where they are finalized. So there's some kind of cycle that I think has actually been over for you guys, but the pain of it has been lingering. With the Five of Wands in reverse, there's something here where it's like maybe you've had an old relationship cycle or something in the past that has happened to you when you pursued a creative venture, and it brought about some type of strife or discordance in your life, whatever this was. And it caused you some emotional suffering with the Three of Swords, emotional suffering that I think you are still really holding on to the memory of today. And with the Page of Pentacles in reverse, I feel like it's creating trepidation around starting something new like this again. So maybe if you got hurt by a friend in the past, maybe emotionally, you know, those fights are over, you're no longer engaged in that dynamic, but the emotional pain is still there and it's preventing you from maybe connecting with new friends. You know, Venus is going to retrograde through your 11th house as well, which is a house of friendship. So if this is talking about your community, you might feel fear around rejoining some type of community. This is just an example, but this could really pertain to any area of life. Even though it is moving to the 12th and the 11th house, whatever this is doing, it's creating some kind of vision of clarity. And I think it's likely going to happen when Venus moves from the 12th to the 11th, which is going to be on March 27th. So look out for some type of clarity or revelation on or around March 27th as Venus transits into Pisces, where it's exalted. If this is another area of your life, let's say you had some kind of creative venture that you pursued. With the Five of Wands in reverse, this could have brought some kind of strife into your life. Maybe you didn't make enough and you were worried about money. With the Three of Swords, maybe a project that you had flopped or never really got off the ground. And now you're scared with the Page of Pentacles in reverse to start something like that again or promote something like that again for yourself. There's just something here where I feel like you're meant to be realizing with this Venus retrograde that this cycle has ended with the World card, that you've already completed something with this, that you don't need to revisit this emotionally or energetically, that it's actually not going to serve your soul to continue to come back to a situation like this. So you're not going to relive that, but it's almost like your heart doesn't know it and it's anticipating it to happen again this next time you try to embark on this endeavor. And I feel like the clarity is you having a revelation that this cycle, you are actually free from it. And Venus retrograde to the 12th is showing you that this is laid to rest. This is a part of your past and it has formed part of who you are, but it's also something that doesn't need to remain with you. It doesn't need to be imprinted on your sense of worthiness around what you can have in the future either. With the Seven of Wands in reverse and the Knight of Swords upright, the Seven of Wands is somebody who has to like fight for something. They have to fight for their place. There's competition or there's people who are ready to take them down at any moment to take over their spot. When it's in reverse and the Knight of Swords after, I feel like you're coming out of a period of potential separation from something, from some kind of like support system. And you're realizing that instead of feeling like there is bad will or ill will between you and someone, or that things have to be super competitive or that it's cutthroat, I feel like you're coming into a phase of realizing that, again, that cycle is over where that pain was. And it's not this cutthroat energy anymore. People aren't trying to take you down anymore. Instead, with the Knight of Swords, you can come into a phase of being curious, of being open, talking to different people, exploring new kinds of environments and ideas, and trying things on or trying things out, and not being afraid that there's going to be an enemy tango around the corner trying to shoot you down. And I almost feel like one of the messages that came through immediately when I pulled these two cards, Six of Wands upright, Knight of Wands in reverse, was coming into a phase where you're not gassing yourself up anymore, but where you're allowing other people to lift you up, where you're allowing yourself to receive praise, receive love, receive support, receive recognition, feel honored by your community, or accepted by those who love you, and feel, and like grow your confidence through the affirmation of others. This feels like very Leo kind of energy. And with the Knight of Wands reverse, it's like you don't have to always be that person for yourself. Moving less away from being self-sufficient with your confidence and allowing yourself to be bolstered by other people. That's usually like the opposite message of what I would give. I mean, just generally speaking, I think it's important for confidence to come from within. But I feel like you guys have been so autonomous on your journey that you actually need to let in the love of others and help people see or reflect your light back to you with the Six of Wands. Help you see how amazing you are. Let the compliments in. Let people promote you. Take this wave of visibility that you're meant to have. So I really feel like that's Venus retrograding through Pisces in the 11th is about you kind of owning the fact that you are a valuable asset to your community, to your friendships, to your online community, to your environment somehow. And you deserve recognition, and you don't always have to just be a solo journeyer, being solo and building up your own confidence. You can accept that love in from others. So yeah, I don't know. I just feel like you guys are kind of, with this clarity and revelation, I think you're revealing a lot about how you might kind of tamper down your natural emotional or creative or spiritual expression. And you're realizing that the cycle where there was wounding around that, where when you did express yourself emotionally and you got hurt, or when you did put yourself out there spiritually or creatively and nothing manifested, I feel like you guys are going to realize that cycle is over. And now instead, you can be more open and curious and put yourself back out there and let the world rebuild you after it has kind of torn you down in the past. So that's really what I'm seeing for you, Taurus. It's kind of coming out of the shell and not being, stubborn in this energy of holding on to things or not expressing things. But just fully letting it go and letting the world gas you up and lift you up in a way that is going to reaffirm this opening that you're going through. So that's what I'm seeing for you, Taurus. If that resonates, I'd love to hear from you in the comments down below. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up and subscribe and share with your friends. And I hope you have a beautiful day. Bye. All right, up next we have Gemini rising and sun. So for you guys, this Venus retrograde cycle is going to take place across your 11th and your 10th house. So from March 1st to the 27th, Venus will be retrograding through Aries, which is in your 11th house of friendships and community and online network, as well as 27th to April 12th, Venus will be retrograding through Pisces, which is in your area of career and future goals. So I really feel like there is something, okay, well, let me start off with the structure of the cards first, and then we'll connect to the astrology as we move throughout. So this spleen card represents the block, because wherever we have Venus retrograding is going to help us reflect on what it is that we really want. And if there is a block around what we want that Venus retrograde will help us work through, this card will represent it. This card talks about overthinking, indecision, intellectualizing something, being in your head about something, worrying about something, second guessing yourself or doubting yourself, not having confidence to go after something fully, or just second guessing yourself along the way. So this spleen card really talks about being in your own head. And I think that this is just a Gemini quality in general. Geminis, you are ruled by Mercury, which is the planet of your mind. And so I just feel like you guys at this stage are kind of needing to progress your life. This could be in terms of either your friendship circles and your community, or your career, or both. And your life is meant to be changing this month and really evolving and adapting in these areas. And if you are overthinking things and kind of getting in your own way, ruminating about it, then Venus retrograde is going to bring up this habit and help you break it so that you can find mental clarity and freedom. So I pulled a clarifier for why you might be having anxiety. One of the cards that came out was She Who Unfolds, Swath, Embrace Self-Care. So I really feel like this is speaking to the fact that you could have anxiety because you might need a greater self-care practice. Maybe you're online too much. Maybe you're talking to too many people and getting everybody else's opinions. Maybe you're hearing too much about what's going on in the world, or you're just investing too much in the mental chatter and not enough in maybe some of the physical exercises that can support your body. So whether that is, meditation or exercise or sleep, there's something that you need to do to take care of yourself better. Even if you do all those things well, it could be improving your diet or putting on makeup in the morning or changing out of certain clothes and into other clothes that make you feel better about yourself or more comfortable. There's something here around needing to do a little bit more for yourself, to put energy back into yourself. And this will help you step out of your mind, because the more that you take care of the body and of your overall nervous system, the more that you'll be able to relax a little bit. So the gift that you're getting as a result of this Venus retrograde is this fertility card. So I feel like this is telling you that you're going to come into a period of prosperity, especially as Venus moves direct on the 12th. So there's going to be something about this period that's going to help you refine and commit more to your goals, your desires, your friendships, and it's going to create some kind of fertile ground for the things that you want. With Leo here, there's something about your personal expression, your creative expression being a part of this. So it's fertile ground for you to find something that feels like it matches your authenticity, your authentic self. So a real friend that matches kind of your vibe, or a real goal or career movement or alignment within your career, or changes within your career that make you feel more seen and more valued. So there's just something here where you guys are going to be able to find the right people or prioritize the right things or stand up for yourself in certain ways within your career, your friends, in order to feel like you are being seen for who you are, being valued and recognized for who you are. So the goddesses that are guiding you this month is beauty and knowledge. So, I should say this month and a half. So again, there could be an extra special focus on what do I look like with this beauty card, especially with Venus moving into Pisces on March 27th in your 10th house. This is a very public house. So there's could be a special focus on how am I perceived? What does the public see when they look at me? And that could come down to really basic things like, what do I look like? So that could be something that you reprioritize this month and a half. Another way that this could come up is trying to make your life more beautiful or finding more beauty in your everyday life. So when Venus goes retrograde, that's usually something that's less accessible to us. We might feel like life is a little bit less beautiful, or we might feel a little bit more down. And so this card is kind of reminding you to reconnect to that. The knowledge card, I feel like this is interesting because we got the overthinking, the spleen card, overthinking, ruminating as being your issue. And then we have knowledge. These are both cards that impact the mind. So there's something here where I feel like you guys are going to, especially during the eclipses in March, you're going to gain some kind of knowledge. Some kind of puzzle piece is going to fit into the equation. So this could be getting an answer around something, learning more about something, needing to go back to school for something, having an important conversation with something about something with someone. It's just something where you're filling in a gap of knowledge that I think is going to help you with the piece of the overthinking. Because my Geminis, you want to understand things. And when you don't have a clear idea of something, a clear plan set into place where you don't kind of know how things are going to end up, that's when the brain tries to go into hyperdrive and tries to do everything to find information or overthink about something to understand it. I feel like that, learning more about something isn't always going to help with that. However, this month with Venus retrograde, I think that you will learn something, especially with the eclipses happening this month. You will learn something that is going to help you get out of the phase of trying to understand it and worrying about not knowing the next steps. you're going to fill in that gap, and it's going to create a little bit more ease in your mind and your nervous system. So if you feel called to go to a convention to learn more about something, go to a meetup group, go to a, study further, or do online research or read about something, I feel like there is going to be some knowledge gained if you follow those instincts to go to those places or learn those things. This doesn't mean going onto TikTok and watching all the videos and taking in everybody's opinions and getting overwhelmed. That will lead to this. But there's something here around your instinct and intuition telling you, hey, you really need to sign up for that course. And that's going to fill in some missing piece around what it is that you really want, especially related to your community or your career goals. Okay, so let's look at some of the tarot cards. We start off with Chariot, we have Strength, Page of Wands, Temperance, and then to describe Temperance, Seven of Pentacles. So this to me is describing that you guys have been, I feel like this Venus retrograde is asking you to commit to some kind of new venture that I think you've been afraid to do in some way. The Chariot is like, okay, it's time to actually get moving. This is something that you've been talking about for a while, thinking about for a while. You've been overthinking and not taking the action or the next steps. And then you're going to have some missing piece fill in about, okay, what's the right timeline? What's the next step? Or what's the right move? How do I go about this? And it's going to fill in that piece. And then the Chariot is like, okay, let's go. Let's get moving. And I feel like with the Strength card, it's been telling you that this is going to require a lot of courage and conviction and self-belief. And I feel like you guys have been maybe wavering in that a little bit in the past. And this Venus retrograde is about rebuilding that sense of confidence that will help you kind of commit to even the hard parts of this path. Because things that are worthwhile aren't really always meant to be easy. So I feel like you guys are meant to be disciplined, use your willpower and your conviction to commit to something, to build strength, build consistency, build confidence on something that is entirely new, that might feel like a stretch with this Page of Wands, that might feel like you're breaking into new ground, or you're exploring new ideas or new ventures, or you're tackling something in your life through a creative lens that may have felt difficult before, but you're coming out. It's a long journey, whatever this is. This is not quick. Like, part of your advice is to really strengthen your resolve. And that's what I think the thing that you've been wavering with, because you've been too in your head, you've been overthinking everything. Now I feel like you're going to have the commitment to strengthen your resolve and realize that whatever this is will take a lot of patience and time for it to manifest. But it's something that will ultimately be what you need. It will create fertile ground for a really strong future for yourself. So even if this, again, requires a lot of energy from you, a lot of courage from you to make this fresh start or tackle this problem through a fresh lens, the results will be worth it. Even though it does take time, it will lead, again, to some kind of really fertile outcome for you. The second set of messages that we have is Seven of Wands, Upright, Judgment, the Fool, and the Knight of Swords. So I feel like part of the issue here is that there is some kind of conflict, maybe with other people, that is playing a center role in your own confusion or self-doubt or overthinking. The Seven of Wands and the Judgment definitely feels like competing ideas, people judging one another, like harsh kind of opinions. There's something here around the noise from the outside world and the judgment of others, or the judgment that you might put on yourself around this. That's playing some kind of role here. With the Fool and the Knight of Swords, I feel like you're meant to be taking some kind of leap despite the reactions that other people might present to you. So let me give an example. I don't know, you're supposed to have some kind of fresh start, but you're going to have to maneuver past like a crowd of people to get there. You're going to have to listen to the criticisms of others and not take that at face value. There's just something where it's like, yeah, I don't know. There's some kind of external resistance and people making noise, or the world itself might feel like it's a bad time for this, for example. So it doesn't have to be so personal where it's like, oh, a family member or friend or whatever saying something to you about you making this fresh start. This could be that there is tension in the world, that there's some kind of conflict in the world, and whatever. There's something happening where there's a little bit of resistance, and the Judgment card is like needing to overcome the judgment and resistance vocally from others and moving to your fresh start anyway, whatever this is, kind of throwing off the baggage that other people are putting onto you by saying like, well, look at this or look at that. And then the Knight of Swords. This is somebody who is, I feel like this is kind of a full circle moment, because this is somebody who's really using their mind for their own benefit. You started off with the mind using you, with the mind being something that kind of made you worry or made you overthink and kind of get in your own way. When you end with the Knight of Swords, I feel like the things that you were overthinking likely came from maybe outside sources or certain worries or things going on in the world or other people's opinions. And there's something about this where you're able to just throw all that baggage away and get clearer on what you want, where you're going, what you think about something. That's the most important, like using your mind to discover like what you really think about something without the noise getting in the way and like tangling up your own thoughts, like getting it all knotted up together. I see you guys untangling them and having like a clear sense of direction, and helps you move very fast after that. It's like once you decide something, it moves really fast. Or once you know what you want, or you decide to stop watching certain things or listening to certain things or not listening to the impact of certain things, it will help you move your life a lot. It'll help you progress your life a lot faster and with greater ease. I do think it will still take time with this Temperance and Seven of Pentacles. There's something that you want to do that I think is going to take time. Naturally, is going to require patience and maybe a lot of like consistency and hard work. But I think your journey of getting there is going to still be easy and more accelerated once you've gotten past this like point of breakthrough where there is that initial resistance, and then it's like a bottleneck, and then that bottleneck breaks free, and then you're flowing and you can still move consistently with effort towards your goals. But it's like you have to get past that bottleneck first with this situation. So I hope that makes sense. There's some kind of resistance around moving forward with something in your life that could come from internally, from the world, from friends, from authority figures, your career. But I think that you guys really know what you want deep down, and it's all about tuning into that. So that's what this Venus retrograde is about. It's about really getting clear on what it is that you desire, listening to yourself, listening to your intuition, especially when Venus hits Pisces in that retrograde cycle on March 27th. So yeah, I hope that you guys really do tune into that, because there's something worthwhile there. Thank you guys so much. If this resonates, I'd love to hear from you in the comments down below. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up, subscribe, share with your friends, and have a beautiful day. All right, up next we have Cancer, Rising, and Sun. For you guys, this Venus retrograde is going to be taking place in Aries from the 1st to the 27th of March in your 10th house, and then in Pisces until April 12th in your 9th house. So what does this mean for you guys? Well, for all of the piles or all of the zodiac signs, I've been pulling a card that represents the blockage. For you, this is the brain. So there's something about the way that you guys are currently thinking about things, maybe the way that your mind is working against you, maybe you're overthinking things. It just feels like you're getting a little bit entangled in your thoughts and not clear on your sense of direction, what you want, where you're going, what you're going to do, what your plan is. Venus retrograde is a time of clarifying our desires. What would bring us fulfillment? What would bring us a feeling of satisfaction in life? With this being in your 10th house, this pertains to your goals in life, your next steps, your direction, your career advancements, and also these major life progressions like getting married or having some kind of public change to your reputation or identity. So when Venus retrogrades here, you might be thinking about those areas of your life through a new lens and asking yourself Am I reaching my fullest potential? Do I feel as fulfilled as I could possibly feel? Do I feel like what I'm doing, I'm in love with this love card, that I am in alignment with it, that I'm fulfilled by it, that I'm getting a lot of joy and satisfaction out of it, and receiving as much as I'm giving to this goal or this sense of direction? And to clarify this brain card, I pulled the She Who Guides, New Path Guide and Renewal, and then She Who Begins, Launch, Actualize, and Potential. What this is telling me is that there's something in your life that you guys have not started or haven't fully seen it through to the end that you are meant to be doing. With Venus retrograding in your 10th, this is a time of reprioritizing and bringing back your values to the thing that you wanted to start, the thing that you thought would really light you up, that you really wanted to begin in your life, that you may have put down, put on the back burner, or just kind of gave up on to some degree. So part of your advice here is to not let your mind kind of get the better of you, because I feel like you guys have something that you really want to pursue, but there is something going on where you don't believe in yourself, or you've been too busy, or whatever excuses there are. You have deprioritized this facet of your life that was once a goal, that was once something that you valued. And it's time to bring it back. Venus retrograde is about bringing that back online. When Venus retrogrades through your 9th house, I think this is when it's going to help you heal and restore that faith, the faith in your potential to expand, to do more, to seek more, and to not feel like you need to settle or stay within your comfort zone or get a little bit, I guess, limited and kind of just trying to be happy with a limited amount of like, oh, I'm just going to be happy with what I have. No, when Venus retrogrades to your 9th, you're going to reawaken to the fact that you can continue to grow as a soul. You don't have to always settle for what is practical. I think you're going to realize that you have so much more potential yet to live, and it's going to help you heal and restore your belief in yourself. So what tarot messages do you guys have here? So you have the Chariot, the Knight of Swords, the Sun card in reverse, and the Justice. So this, to me, the Chariot is a lot about getting things moving, and the Knight of Swords is also the fastest card in the deck. So having these paired together, to me, is trying to get your kind of mind back online. I think that you have, again, with your brain, it's been kind of working against you in certain ways. Maybe you've been overly logical, overly practical, trying to make sense out of things, or, making excuses for not doing what you want to do because of logical reasons. So it's time to kind of use your brain instead to work for you. So you can still use logic, but you can instead work the logic in a way that supports your potential, your growth, and your goals. With the Chariot and the Knight of Swords, I see you working a lot faster towards these goals and using your sense of discipline and willpower to get there. So whereas before your mind was working against you and you were making excuses why you can't do something, now I feel like it's the opposite, where you're finding all the ways that you can make something happen and you're committing to it and moving very quickly. The Sun card in reverse is speaking about you guys having a lack of clarity around the future. I feel like this is what's transforming here, and it's turning upright. You guys used to have this lack of clarity, and I think it came from not moving. You'll find that as you take action, the clarity actually comes. So the brain, again, might have trouble understanding everything around this new path, because when something is new, we don't have the answers to it yet. We haven't tried it before, we haven't experienced it, and our brain tries to fill in the gaps. But I see that now that you're actually acting and taking steps along this path, your brain is going to start filling in all of the gaps, and you're going to start to see a path unravel in front of you. And I think you'll also, with Venus retrograde and Pisces in the 9th, be getting a little bit more comfortable with the act of trusting, with having faith, with the parts of the path that you will never see until you approach it. So I think that this is talking about the Sun in reverse, is you guys becoming more comfortable with the not knowing, and actually also at the same time getting to know even more, have more illuminated along the path as you act. The Justice card to me is a card of karma, of fairness, of balance. So as you take the action, you will find a reciprocal reaction. And that's why I see with this Love card with the Libra on there, you will go into a path that you love and you put your energy into, but it also gives back to you, because I feel like whatever other path you were on that doesn't actually fulfill you as much emotionally, I think that that path is something that takes from you. At the very least, it's not something that is totally 100% in alignment with you. And because it's not a match, it might feel that when you give to it, that it's not, it drains you to some degree. This Justice card speaks to you being energetically fulfilled in pursuit of something. As you give energy, you also get energy fulfillment or energy return. And this is something that I think is going to be a really unique experience. Like, it's going to really energize you. And that's part of why I think you're moving so fast now, because once you actually get started, it's like a fire that burns. You're passionate, you're stoked about it, and you have this momentum, and it gives you more and more energy the more you take action. And it helps you accelerate like a ball of snow going down a hill, for example, or even an avalanche. Okay, your second message here, Queen of Cups, Ace of Wands, the Moon, and Three of Cups. So there's something definitely going on when I see Three of Cups and Queen of Cups. There's something emotional, potentially relational going on here. So I feel like part of, so part of what's going on here, Queen of Cups, Ace of Wands. I feel like you guys, this is speaking to your emotional fulfillment and creative excitement that I was just speaking about, like that fire taking off, feeling like you are really intuitively guided, especially when Venus is in Pisces. I think your intuition is going to be so on point, and you're going to realize how you can draw from that talent, from that skill set, and that it can make things feel like it flows and like it's easy. The Moon and the Three of Cups is speaking to some kind of future event that you can't see now. And that's what the Moon represents, something that's hidden. And so with the Three of Cups, there's some kind of celebration that is going to come as a result of you committing to this path. So this could be you meeting new friends and that network being something that really uplifts you. But I think that this is more likely talking about many areas of life being affected and you having some kind of up level that happens as a result of this decision that you've been making. So the Moon and Three of Cups indicates some kind of success, some kind of, again, celebration as a result of the success of your up leveling. So if you go down this new path, you might find that you make a lot more money, that you make some strong connections, that you feel more confident in yourself. Maybe it even improves your self-worth and your health, even if you start to treat your body differently. It's almost like you get momentum, and then it starts to build and pull in other areas of your life. I'm kind of imagining like a black hole or something that has a ton of energy that just pulls in all these different things, but instead of taking away from it, it's adding to your life. It's improving and elevating your life. And with this Three of Cups, I think it's very much going to lead to this feeling of gratitude, of, again, being 100% emotionally fulfilled by what you're doing, and just super grateful, again, for yourself, for making that decision, for putting in this work. So really, Cancer, I think this Venus retrograde is trying to align you to your potential. It's trying to help you believe in yourself, recommit to some new path that I feel like you maybe started on but haven't completed, or maybe you put it down. It's something from the past that you've been thinking about or that you've already acted on that you really haven't allowed yourself to fully invest in and believe in. And this Venus retrograde is trying to help you come back online with all that, because there's so much potential here, and you're going to realize how much it feeds into your life and betters your entire life and gives you energy. So again, that's what I'm seeing for you, Cancer. If that resonates, I'd love to hear from you in the comments down below. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up, subscribe, share with your friends, and have a beautiful day. Bye. All right, up next we have Leo rising and sun. So this Venus retrograde period is taking place from March 1st to April 12th. And Venus is going to first start retrograding March 1st to March 27th in Aries in your 9th house. And then from then till April 12th, it'll be retrograde in Pisces in your 8th house. So let's talk about it from the point of tarot and the oracle cards, and then I'll weave in the astrology as we go. So the first card that I pulled for you guys is the Stomach. This card represents the block, or the thing that Venus retrograde is here to come help you clear up and clarify. Venus retrograde is a lot about getting clear on what we value, what we prioritize, what we want, what brings us fulfillment. And it helps us kind of clean up the mess that is getting in the way of that. So the stomach card, this represents usually having some kind of trouble digesting a situation, accepting something, but I saw it in a little bit more of like an aggressive way of like you're not able to stomach something. And what I mean by that is almost, I don't know how to put this without sounding mean, but like almost like there is a weakness here or a lack of lack of fortitude, lack of a backbone with something to commit to something that needs to be done. Like a fear, I don't know, I kind of imagine like a kid that is, too queasy and too scared to go on a roller coaster. And so they never get that experience. They never try it out. They never take that risk because they're like, oh, I can't handle that. And that's kind of what I saw with the stomach, is like somebody who feels like they're not willing to put themselves out there or take some kind of chance or take some kind of risk because they're too scared of something. And to clarify this, I pulled the She Who Resists, fearless, justified, and resistance. So I feel like you are justifying your resistance to making maybe necessary change or taking necessary risks or going on a necessary adventure, putting yourself out there in some way. You're resisting that change and you are justifying it. And I can see you're resisting the change because two other cards I pulled after this were patience and waiting and determination and metamorphosis, transcend, and journey. So I feel like you are in a process of becoming, but you're kind of like pausing yourself. Like you are developing as a person, you're becoming something or someone. Maybe you need to put yourself out there more for a creative journey that you have, or for a relationship, or to go on a trip that you've always wanted to go on, but you're like delaying it or something. You're saying, I'll do that later, or, I'll get to that later, or you're somehow justifying a pause in your spiritual growth and evolution. And that's what the ninth house is. The ninth house is about adventures, personal growth, transcendence. In many ways, it's somehow, that's a little bit more 12th house, but there is this feeling of, I'm not going to get bogged down in limitations. I'm going to figure out a way to transcend those limitations or operate within them, but still achieve the goal that I have. So there are real life limitations that we have to honor. I'm not going to ignore that. And that's what this card speaks about, actually. This card speaks about, and this is what you're going to get out of this Venus retrograde. It speaks about working within your limitations, but still accomplishing what you want and acting as your own salvation. I almost feel like, Leo, you've been waiting for something or someone to come in and like make this happen for you, or you have been wanting to have some type of like breakthrough moment and something fall into your lap. I don't know. It just feels like somebody who's waiting for their big break or waiting for their opportunity, and almost like for someone else to give you that opportunity instead of you making it happen for yourself. And this Venus retrograde is really about you guys realizing that you have the power to make this happen for yourself, to continue to grow. And Venus retrograding through the 8th is a lot about you guys feeling more empowered and realizing where your fears and insecurities have really held you back. Yeah, so I think that things can be getting in the way. They can be distracting you. They can be throwing you off course. You could have existing commitments and things that you feel like are limitations, and you're using all of these things as like a reason or excuse not to move forward with something that feels like a risk. And this reading is trying to tell you, as Venus moves through your 8th house, this is a time of healing your fears and empowering yourself and realizing that you can go out and take that risk. Part of your advice here with ritual and refinement, this feels like you guys being very consistent with something. It's funny that this refinement card has Scorpio sign on there because refinement is extremely Virgo in nature. Ritual also has Leo on there, so this is obviously very much speaking to you. So there's something about this process of going out there, putting yourself out there, taking some risk, taking some kind of chance, continuing your growth journey. There's something about this that's very kind of in line with developing yourself as a person with this Leo energy. and finding something sacred about this. And I think that has a lot to do with Venus retrograde through the 9th, which is extremely religious and spiritual in nature. There's something about this process of growth that is going to help you find like a connection to your sacred sense of self. And it's almost like you can take a step, like each step that you take towards something, you can make it more meaningful or more sacred, or like listening to your own intuition. There's just something about this process that is meant to feel very spiritually guided. And the more that you listen to that, I think the easier you will find this is. The refinement piece, I think with the Scorpio on there, well, okay, a couple messages. The refinement from the Virgo energy that I'm seeing is you guys taking consistent action each day and just getting a little bit better and a little bit further along than before. Taking these bite-sized chunks and being the one that saves yourself. You don't have to have this big break and this big moment of something occurring for you. It's like, what if life is actually about the everyday little steps? That's one of your messages. The refinement piece with the Scorpio sign kind of speaks to Venus retrograding through your 8th, because there is a process of clearing things out. Scorpio is about the process of purification and transformation of energy. So, it's like taking food that we eat and it produces waste and then it converts the rest into energy. There's something about that process for you where you're kind of coming into your life and maybe having to refine certain elements of your life, where you're kind of maybe getting rid of certain things, or you're realizing what is a distraction, what is a waste of time, and you're paring down, or you're focusing on the thing that can get you the results, that can give you the energy, that can help you progress in some way. So again, I feel like you're being your own salvation here as a result of kind of realizing that you have the strength, you have the hardiness of your stomach to face the situation, to work within the limitations, to adapt to your environment, to take steps each day and not make excuses as to why you can't, or why you need to resist something, or why you need to wait for something. No, like you can do it right now. So you can see that a lot of this stems with the 8 of Swords from your own mindset. And that's why Venus retrograding through the 8th is very helpful, because it shows us where we've been letting our fear and anxiety tell us that something is creating a limitation, when in fact there is always a way to work within that or around that. So it's like letting your mind and your fears again and your anxieties dictate things that aren't even true. And I feel like the whole process of this is to really realize how that's been happening and move out of that stuck mental energy into a place of empowerment with the Queen of Wands, finding reasons why you can do something, believing in yourself more, finding more confidence through action. And one of the things that I see with this 4 of Wands in reverse is to release expectations. Because the first thing I thought about with the 4 of Wands upright is this is a marriage card. In reverse, like when I think about it in upright, I think about somebody having their like perfect wedding day. And when we think about that, there's a lot of pressure around that. There's a lot of expectation of things going perfectly, of the performance to be perfect, and everyone to act really well and nothing to go wrong. And with the 4 of Wands in reverse, it feels like, what if you can let go of some of the expectations and standards and perfectionism around this, and you'll find that you move much faster. Instead of like building something up in your mind, like it's going to be this big break and this big thing and it's got to go super perfectly, and you're putting all this pressure on like one event. I feel like what's different about this is that you're taking little steps every day and taking some of the expectation and like weight and pressure off, and it's accelerating things dramatically with the 8 of Wands. The 8 of Wands is also somebody who's got a lot of priorities, a lot of things on their plate. And so my Leos, I think one of the things that you could use as an excuse is that you have too much going on, when in actuality, this is something that doesn't have to hold you back. There's a way that you can work with it creatively. Your second message is Justice, Lovers, and the World card. So this could be representing something around relationships. This could be a relationship with yourself or with a partner or with somebody close to you. But there's something going on here where you're coming into a phase of really expecting people to treat you fairly. The Lovers is meeting your match, having an equal. The Justice is fairness and balance and equality. So when we have these cards together next to the World card, it's as a result of moving towards your goals that you're going to build up this confidence as the Queen of Wands, and you're going to come into a phase of loving yourself and realizing that you deserve more, or you deserve your equal. And you're going to end some kind of phase where you maybe in the past were in the wrong kinds of relationships, or you settled for jobs or for opportunities that didn't pay you as well, or just this feeling of like, oh, you know, they like me and so I'm just going to go with them, or, you know, this job accepted me and they're paying me this much, so I'm just going to go with that, even though it didn't feel like a match for you. So something is coming in here that's going to shift you on a fundamental level where you're going to realize that you love yourself. You do what you want to do. Like, you listen to your heart and you listen to what your soul wants and you follow it. And as a result, the things that feel like they aren't in alignment with that are going to become so much more uncomfortable and so much more obvious. If someone treats you poorly, if someone doesn't have values in alignment with you, if a job that you're working at doesn't give you what you need or what you deserve, you're going to feel deeply uncomfortable with that because you are somebody who, again, loves yourself, fills yourself up, and does the things that you love to do. And so everything else that doesn't really match that is going to start to fall away, and that cycle is going to end. So as a Leo, you're meant to be very heart-centered. When you are a little bit like overly worried about things, that's more of this kind of Virgo perfectionistic energy, having trouble digesting something, sitting with something, you know, being hard on yourself about something. Leo, you're supposed to be playful. You're supposed to be uninhibited. You're supposed to be joyful and positive. And if you are not feeling like that, if you're getting overly in your head, then you just need to take steps towards what you want. And realize that your mind is playing games with you and you can't always trust what it's telling you around certain things. So that's the overall message for you, my Leos. If this resonates, I'd love to hear from you in the comments down below. Please also don't forget to subscribe, give me a thumbs up, share with your friends, and have a beautiful day. Bye. All right, I'm going to say Virgo rising and sun. So Venus is going to be retrograding through Aries from March 1st to 27th, which is in your 8th house. And then it will retrograde through Pisces from the 27th through April 12th, which is in your 7th house. So what is this going to bring for you? So let's start off with the cards and then I'll weave in the astrology. So we start off with the kidneys. This is your blockage, and Venus retrograde is about reprioritizing things, getting back to what you value and what really matters to you or what you really desire. So the kidneys card talks about somebody who is stressed. They're anxious, they're worried, they're overthinking. It's interesting because a lot of the other piles have had similar messages for part of what's blocking them. So this is partially linked to low self-esteem, being hard on oneself, but there's this feeling of kind of like weakness of the mind coming in here, letting your mind get the better of you. To clarify, I got the stillness card, stillness, purity, quiet, and then the battle card, battle, victory, bitterness. So these cards, I think, have a couple of different messages. Part of the stillness card, I think, can represent you guys not having enough time alone to access your higher wisdom with this owl here. And it's keeping you in your lower base mind that is more survivalistic, if that's a word, survivalist, and is just more stressed. So that's definitely part of this energy. The other here is that you might feel like there is something that you have to battle through or overcome in your life right now, or in order to get to a certain goal. But I think part of what this is saying is that there could be this feeling of you being on some kind of path that you have a long road ahead of you with the battle card. Like, there is quite a lot that needs to be accomplished in order to get to the end result, or in order to feel how you want to feel. And with the stillness card, I feel like this could represent that there hasn't been maybe enough movement in that direction. You know, if if you are perceiving the pursuit of something as a battle, and you think about battle, it's extremely chaotic. There's people fighting, there's people screaming, there's people everywhere, things being thrown, things falling, people falling. It's very, very busy and chaotic. But there's a stillness here that could represent that things aren't what you think they should be. And I don't know, almost like a calm before the storm. So it's like, okay, if you think, let me give you an example because this is a little bit metaphorical. So let's say that you want to become a doctor, and you're like, okay, that's going to be really hard. That's going to take a lot of schooling. That's going to take a lot of time, a lot of energy. That is going to feel like a battle, right? Like a huge mountain that I'm going to have to overcome. But with the stillness card, maybe you haven't actually signed up for any of those courses yet. Maybe you haven't actually like taken the steps towards that. Or let me give you another example. Let's say you want to be a successful entrepreneur. Maybe you feel like it's really competitive. You're going to have to try really hard, that it's a difficult kind of environment in order to succeed. And with the stillness card, you might feel like, well, not a lot is happening. No clients are coming. It's crickets out there. No one's like interacting with my social media posts. I don't know. There's just something going on here between this juxtaposition of energy that's causing you anxiety. So either you need to balance and have more stillness for this battle, or maybe you perceive something that you're going at in life as being a challenge, but then you also feel like not a lot is happening with it. It's not actually challenging you, but it's not producing any fruit yet. There's just something here where I feel like you're really like reading into a situation and you're expecting it to be hard. And from that expectation, you are causing yourself anxiety. And with the stillness card, I feel like you're not actually making moves on that hard venture. And this passion card speaks to you guys really believing in yourself and realizing actually that your projects, your goals, your desires are fruitful, are successful, or have the potential to be really successful. And so I think that this is something that you have to remain connected to, because I'm not going to say that whatever you're wanting to do isn't going to be hard, because there might be hard elements of it. But I think focusing on the challenge of something, on why something is going to be difficult, or how long it's going to take, or how much effort it's going to take, I think you are needing to put that thought aside, because it's causing unnecessary worry and anxiety and feeling like, can I even do this? Am I even good enough to do this, or whatever? And it's like you need to focus instead on the passion that you have towards it, and the thought that this is actually something that could be really successful. Like keeping your eyes on the prize. And it's funny because when I saw this Page of Wands and this Three of Swords, this to me is like somebody really wanting to go on some kind of venture, to take some kind of chance to. The Page of Wands is very much somebody who is, what's the word for it? Like somebody who is kind of goes off the beaten path, and they follow what they want, and they, go on those trips that they want to go on. They take those courses that they want to take. They put themselves out there in a certain way. Whatever that is. The Page of Wands goes out and into the world and follows their passion and makes it happen. And it's right next to the Three of Swords, which is a card of pain and heartbreak. So there's something about this. It's like, feel the pain and do it anyway. It's like when you work out, you feel pain maybe in your body, but you don't take that as a sign to stop working out. You're not like, oh, well, this is hard and this hurts, so I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to focus on how much it's hard and how much it hurts. No, people work out, and when they become really disciplined and consistent with it, it's usually because they develop some kind of like comfortability in that pain, and they develop a passion for working out and how they feel after. They focus on like that feeling that they get as a result of doing the work. So that is the success, right? The healthy body, feeling like you have endorphins and positive dopamine. And it's like focusing on the end result rather than how hard the process is going to be. But also, while you focus on the end result, over time you get used to the pain and the difficulty of the process. And so it's like, feel the pain and do it anyway. And then at some point it won't even feel painful anymore. And the humor card represents the blessing you get out of this. So I feel like you're going to transform your mindset and your attitude. And this is also, part of the reason with Venus retrograding through the 8th house, there's a lot here, and when it's in Aries, around building up your strength. The 8th house is a house of challenge and in many ways of crisis, and it can break you down. But Aries is also about having a lot of fortitude, having a lot of muscle strength, physical resilience, but also mental resilience. And so there's something about this where I feel like you're not only going to build the resilience piece, but you're also going to come so far along this path that you're going to become lighthearted about it. So, it's like somebody being able to laugh while they're going on a difficult run or on a difficult hike, and they laugh it off and they're having fun, and they're not like sitting there and suffering and feeling dread and crying. Like they're having a good time, even if it's sometimes uncomfortable. And I feel like that's what you guys are doing. You're building your strength, your resilience, you're following more of your passion, and it's bringing more lightheartedness and good humor into your life. And when Venus retrogrades also into your 7th house, you'll have the opportunity to bring in more support potentially, or to have more kind of work that you're doing within the realms of delegating or relationships in general. So, okay, the other cards we have, the Emperor, 2 of Pentacles, 8 of Pentacles. You guys are on a journey to develop some kind of skill set. With the Emperor and the 8 of Pentacles, this is somebody who is like, okay, let me take a step back. The Emperor is somebody who is already really good at what they do. So there's something in your life that you have a skill with already. You're established, you have the potential to have some kind of like leadership or teacher quality, or you're just already well like founded in some area of your life. Then with the 2 of Pentacles and the 8 of Pentacles, you decide to take on another skill. So you're like, I'm going to go, maybe I'm a doctor and I want to learn how to be, also a psychiatrist. So this is a stupid example, but it's just this idea of you coming from one field, one foundation, and deciding to build up the skills in a new foundation. And it might not be entirely new. It might be something that kind of grows off of what you're already doing with the 8 of Pentacles, but there's something that you're building a skill with, you're developing something further, you're putting work and effort into something, and it's going to require you to juggle what you already do well with what you are trying to learn more about. So it's going to feel like life is maybe a little bit busy because you're going to be working on maybe 2 projects. Maybe you're going to be studying and working. Maybe you're doing 2 jobs. I don't know. There's this feeling of like, I'm trying to improve 2 areas of my life at once. This could even be I'm trying to, work this job and find a partner because Venus retrogrades to 7th, or I'm going to work my job and, improve my health. Something like this, where you're doing 2 major elements of your life at once, and you're growing and developing one where the other feels a little bit more known to you, familiar, comfortable, where you have full command over what that is. Then we move into the next message, King of Wands, the Moon, and the Fool. There's something here for you guys that you're meant to take some kind of leap of faith. And I feel like you guys are going to develop this skill, develop the skill. And then, okay, there's 2 messages. And then once you feel like you got to a place where you're confident, maybe you have some kind of amalgamation of what you already do with what something is a new skill with, or maybe you develop this so far that you feel really comfortable with that new skill. I don't know, there's something going on here where you're needing to build up your sense of confidence, your sense of worthiness, and feeling like you kind of have mastered something a little bit more. And then from this place, you're meant to take some kind of leap into the unknown. Another message for you guys could be that you need to take some kind of leap of faith in order to study this new thing or start going after this new thing. So for example, if you're not already developing that skill, if you're not already following the second path, you may need to have the confidence to follow your heart and take some kind of blind leap of faith to pursue this new venture as well on top of what you're already doing. There's just something going on here with that, where it's like, you need to be confident in yourself. That is where you have to start from. And then there's some leap of faith that you're taking, wherever this is along your journey. So know that you're not supposed to know the outcome. You're not supposed to have all the answers. With the moon, there is supposed to be some nebulous confusion or, trying to piece things together. But because you're starting with confidence and belief in yourself and feeling creative and inspired and passionate about something, that indicates that it will all work out in the end. So there seems like there's very similar threads through a lot of the groups. But for you guys, I think with Venus retrograding through the 8th, it's a lot about getting your passion back online, becoming resourceful, becoming resilient, doing things despite the difficulty and not standing in your own way. And then when Venus retrogrades in the 7th, I do think that you might be able to lean a little bit more on others and reflect more on how your relationships, your connections, the way that you delegate, the way that you show up in your partnerships and ask things of others, like how can you improve that area of your life so that you can facilitate more of this journey that you're trying to go on, so you can make things easier for yourself, so you can get more support for yourself. You might also have some changes in your relationships and how you show up there, and that reflects you putting more energy into yourself. That's also a possibility. So lots of different ways you can look at this, my Virgos, but that's what I'm seeing for you. If this resonates, I'd love to hear from you in the comments down below. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up, subscribe, share with your friends, and have a beautiful day. All right, next we have Libra rising and sun. So for you guys, this Venus retrograde is going to be happening in your 7th house when it's moving through Aries from March 1st to 27th, and then moving into your 6th house when Venus retrogrades through Pisces from March 27th to April 12th. So what does this mean for you? Well, first of all, my Libras, this is more significant for you because Venus is your planetary ruler. So when it goes retrograde, this does create a little bit more of a personal experience and maybe feeling like you are reflecting more on elements of the past. And you can definitely see that with this past card. So let's talk about the cards first, and we'll get into the astrology. So for every group, I've been pulling a card on what is the block. Where is Venus coming in to help resolve things and help us feel clear about our path, about our priorities, our values, and what it is that we want. For you guys, I pulled the uterus card. This is a card of creative energy, creative and emotional expression, feeling like you can birth things into the world. It's a part of the woman's reproductive system, the most important part that really helps create life. So there's something about your life right now where you may feel somehow blocked from having something that you want or creating something that you want. If you guys want to get pregnant, this could literally speak to having trouble getting pregnant. If there's some kind of emotional blockage or some kind of resistance going on in your life, this could also represent that. For a clarifier, I pulled the She Who Dreams, Escape, Dream, and Fantasy. So one of the things that was clear to me with this message here was that there's something about this process that I think that you thought would be something like a dream. So, and Libras and Pisces as well, which again, Venus is going to retrograde through Pisces, mostly in April, is a lot about this, where they can kind of idealize things. They can, especially when it comes to people for Libra, you know, you can kind of see something as like better than it is, or have this dream about something. So for example, if you've always had a dream to like get married at a certain age, or about what your wedding is going to be like, or about when you're going to have kids, or how it's going to be like when you have kids, I feel like there's something in this process of your life that you are going through, you're trying to create that for yourself, and you're realizing that life doesn't turn out like the dreams. It's not perfect like these fantasies that you might have had in your past. Not that it's bad to have those, but that it's oftentimes not realistic. You know, you dream about maybe having a kid, and then the reality of pregnancy can feel very daunting. You know, it's very hard on the body. And some people really struggle to get pregnant to begin with. So I'm just using that as an example, but there's so many different ways that this can manifest, that you kind of could have had rose-colored glasses on with something and maybe expected it to be easy and light and fun. And the reality of bringing something into life, or the messiness of the feelings that you have around something, are a little bit harder to manage. And I think that's what this duality card is speaking to, is that you're really getting to know the duality of life. You can have both the miracle of life where you create a child, and the duality of the suffering or the difficulties that do come with that process. It's very, very rarely this really beautiful, magical experience through and through. And I think when Venus particularly retrogrades through Pisces, it's going to show how some of that magic has worn off. I think also Venus retrograding in the 7th house can show you, if this is talking about anything with relationships or partnerships, I think it can really show you, or even a job commitment, it can show you how that thing that you maybe were really excited about and like really, again, romanticized at first, maybe you kind of get used to each other, or, you know, over time issues start to crop up and you start to realize that life is all about duality, and there's quite a bit of unpleasant with the pleasant. So yeah, I feel like you guys are really getting to know the dual sides of nature, and you're going to feel both of these in this process of trying to bring something out that you desire. Venus retrograde in the 7th can be especially challenging for relationships, so have patience with your partner if you can, and with yourself. And, you know, if you feel more like you need to make certain changes to how you relate to people, or to how you show up in relationships in general, or what kind of things you're looking for in a partner, this is a good time to be looking at that, reviewing that. So the blessing that you get from this experience is wise leadership and the past. So the past card, I feel like, really speaks to the fact that there is going to be a number of things. I feel like you're going to release like some past expectation or standard or idealized reality. So again, that kid who's dreaming of their wedding, or that person in their early 20s thinking how magical pregnancy is going to be. And then it comes and you're like, oh shit, that is not what it's like. You know, I'm tearing, I'm bleeding, all these things are happening, and it's scary. And so there's something here around making peace with your past self. The past self that had a version of reality that you thought life would be like, making peace with that and integrating the good and the bad, like realizing what parts have aligned with that dream or that fantasy and what parts haven't, and being okay with all of it. I think another element here is, you know, Venus retrograde, again, Venus being your planetary ruler, it's just going to bring up stuff from the past. So if you've had past instances of things not working out, and now you're trying to start something else, and you're trying to, you know, you have your eyes set on something in your future, you might have a little bit of fear of that not working out again because of those past circumstances. So in any way this checks out, there's something about the past that you're healing from. Either the perfect fantasy of the past that you're integrating with the reality of the current present, or the difficult experiences of the past, or emotional experiences that still haunt you in the present. You're healing the past, and you're not carrying all that baggage forward with you, or all those expectations forward with you. Your next blessing is wise leadership. So there's something about this where I feel like you're going to become a really good steward over your life. So coming from this place of like fantasy and dream and creation energy, that's really beautiful, but there's also something a little bit ungrounded about that. And I feel like you are developing more of your wisdom. Wisdom comes through learned experience and life and time, and often a lot of challenges in life. Some of the wisest, most patient people I know are people who've suffered a lot. And so there's something about your difficult experiences and the duality of life that's teaching you real wisdom, and not just, again, this kind of like maybe naive or really like beautiful rose-colored glasses. You're coming from a place of like a balanced perspective. You're accepting the duality. You're seeing both the challenges and the beautiful things about life, and all in one. And from that place, you can lead and create in your life in this really empowering way, really grounded way as well. And I think also other people will feel drawn to you and respect that about you. So that's also part of Venus retrograding through the 7th, is as you kind of clarify your own views on the world and the way that you stand in the world, other people will see those internal changes that you're making, and it will affect the relationships that you're in. Okay, messages coming through with the tarot. We have the Star in reverse and a King of Wands. This does represent to me that there was some kind of hope that was lost, or some situation that, again, you kind of built up in your head, or you had this like perfect reality of something, and then it fell flat with the Star in reverse. And with the King of Wands after, I see you guys bouncing back. This Venus retrograde is about assimilating those past experiences and realizing that you can be confident without getting your hopes up, that you can be really sure of yourself and what you want and where you're going without idealizing the path and thinking it's going to be perfect getting there. There's a sense of like being self-assured, being confident, being creative, being expressive, while also being wise. So I think that's part of the process that you're going to go through. We also have Ace of Wands reverse, King of Swords reverse, Page of Cups reverse, and the Ace of Cups upright. So something here with Ace of Wands in reverse, it feels like, it's funny because this is like, okay, I'm really passionate about this. I'm going to dive right into this. I'm going to start this new thing. I'm going to go towards this journey. And then again, in reverse, it's like, oh, that actually didn't work out, or I was rejected from it, or something happened where it didn't move forward. It didn't get off the ground. So you had all the fire and the excitement, and then the steam just kind of like went out. And the King of Swords in reverse represents you maybe getting in your head about that, and then feeling like, yeah, I don't know. I think that the mind can be this really a tool for wisdom, or it can be something that it can get out of hand very easily. And the King of Swords is something that when it's upright, this is somebody who's really empowered in their mind. They're very honest about something. They're factual. They can see things as they are. When it gets in reverse, they can be somebody who's maybe bleak, who maybe uses logic to remove all the magic out of life, and they overanalyze things out of fear because something went wrong in the past. And there's just something here where it's like the mind becomes this like weapon. And so I feel like this could have potentially happened to you guys at some point, maybe in the past or during this process of the retrograde or whenever. And I think it led to you kind of not trusting as much in your magic and creativity and intuition with the Page of Cups in reverse. It's almost like, well, I was super excited about that thing and then it didn't work out. So now all that passion, that excitement, that creative energy, or that intuitive gut feeling, I can't trust that anymore. And it creates this like disconnect. And what I feel like this Venus retrograde is doing is it's helping you reestablish your connection to the divine, to the magical. And I think that this is part of Venus retrograding in Pisces in your 6th house. It's finding the divine in your day-to-day life, in your health, in your work, in your routines, and kind of coming back to that sense of magic, the synchronicities, the element of flow where you feel something and you move towards it and it just works. There's something about that that's coming back online for you after a period of that being maybe stressed or tested. As a result of all of this, you have experienced this duality of life, and you're kind of coming to terms with the mixture of the magic and then the reality, and sometimes the denseness of that and the lightness of the magic. And it's creating this perfect mixture of realism and optimism that is going to lead to the Wheel of Fortune. The Wheel of Fortune is somebody whose success is turning around, someone whose blessing is coming into their favor. So whatever has downtrodden you in the past, I feel like you guys have now come into a period of acceptance as a result of Venus retrograde, especially when it comes to relationships and maybe health and work in those areas where Venus is retrograding through. And those areas are now going to be, especially when Venus goes direct on April 12th or April 13th, you're going to experience those areas of your life becoming really prosperous as a result of all this inner work that you've done to make peace with what has happened in the past. So Wheel of Fortune is things turning in your favor, the Lord looking upon you favorably. And I think you guys have experienced enough duality that the universe is ready to give you your blessing as a result of all the wisdom you've gained from these experiences and these ups and downs. So that's what I'm seeing for you, Libra. If that resonates, I'd love to hear from you in the comments down below. Don't forget to also like this video, subscribe, and share with your friends, and have a beautiful day. All right, I'm next to have Scorpio rising and sun. For you guys, Venus is going to be retrograding through Aries, which is in your 6th house, and then later through Pisces, which is in your 5th house. Venus will be retrograde when this video comes out till the middle of April. So what is this going to bring for you? Well, let's first start with the cards, then we'll bring in the astrology. So the first card that I have been pulling for everybody talks about the blockage that we're experiencing. You guys got the nose, and this card speaks about your ability to take in information, make sense, and make understanding of things, and your ability to kind of, I guess, make use out of information. So with this saying that something is being blocked here, it's almost like there's something about your senses or about your perception of something that may be a little bit off, or you're taking, like, you're processing too much information. You're taking in too much data. So it's either something about the data being skewed, or your interpretation of the data being skewed, or just the sheer fact that there's so much information that it's hard to come to an understanding. So whatever it is, there's something happening with the output, with the making sense of things that is a little bit wonky here. For further clarification, I got the She Who Changes, transformation, change, and enchantment. And I feel like this is indicating that there could be this potential for your world to be changing, your reality to be changing, and you, again, maybe not picking up on some of that information. Or it could signify that there are things that you need to change in your perception of things or the way that you process information, and you haven't quite done that yet. So there's something here where a change needs to be made or needs to be recognized that isn't being perceived and recognized right now. So with Venus retrograding in the 6th house, this is largely centered around your health, your work, and your day-to-day responsibilities. Venus retrograde is a time where we are meant to be kind of looking at our priorities in life and what we really value, what we're putting our energy and effort into. And when Venus retrogrades in the 6th, it could be asking you if there's different ways that you could evaluate the way that you take care of your health. Especially when I did pull this healing card as one of the main cards kind of describing the circumstances around this retrograde period. I think for March, when Venus is retrograding through Aries, for most of March, I should say, I think that the focus is on what should I be healing and how should I work on that differently. So you guys may have, there's a lot of information on how to take care of health and what's the right thing to do. And this could represent that you guys might be a little bit, I don't know, there's something with the nose where it's like your senses need to be tapped into more. You need to trust more of your own instincts around what you need. And that could look like quieting down the information that you take in, or, yeah, I don't know. I think I need to pull another clarifier for this, but there's something around your healing journey that I think that you have the ultimate say in, and that you need to trust your own instincts with, even if it goes against what somebody else is saying or what's kind of commonly accepted knowledge, for example. Okay, so I want to pull a clarifier for the nose and how this is connected to the healing card. Any clarifier, Spirit, around the connection here? Some of you guys literally might have like some kind of sinus thing going on. Page of Swords. Okay, Page of Swords is somebody who's here to take in more information. So this actually might be speaking to you guys needing to learn more about something in regards to healing. So if, for example, if you have an issue where you're having like IBS or stomach issues, which is really common with Scorpios, this could be a sign that there is a little bit more going on here than meets the eye or that's on the surface. And the Page of Swords could indicate that you might be perceiving the situation as one thing, but you actually need to do a little bit more research, because there is actually another thing in your life that's affecting the gut, for example. So there's something that you need to change in maybe your diet. This is just an example, but there's something that you might need to change in your diet, but you're blaming it on something else. So with my Scorpio risings, there's something going on here in regards to your health in a physical or emotional place that you may be attributing to one area of life, but it actually is a little bit more complex than that. And doing some research, the Page of Swords feels like talking to people who've gone through this, going on Reddit to see people who have similar symptoms, because I feel like there's a little bit more nuance here that you could gain from this. The next card that we have is the Passion card. And this I feel like relates to Venus retrograding into Pisces in your 5th house. The 5th house is the house of passion. So this might be a time in which you guys are really revisiting your sense of connection with people, your desire for relationship or creative interests that you have. You might kind of reconnect with people from the past, or again, hobbies or passion interest from the past, or complete some kind of project that you've been working on that's a passion project. It could be a time where you're meant to be asking yourself, am I putting enough energy into the things that light me up, or the relationships that light me up? Am I doing enough things that are fun? When Venus retrogrades in Pisces in the 5th, you might realize that you need more inspiration in life, that there's more out there to life. Like, you could go traveling, you could go on adventures, you could, hang out with different types of people, or do different, types of artistic ventures, anything like that that's going to help you feel more alive. This is a time in which you're meant to bring that back, kind of getting out there into the world more, and evaluating like how much energy and effort you put into the fun things in life. The goddess that's guiding you and the overall outcome of this Venus retrograde is divine wisdom. So I really feel like there's something here around learning more, gaining more information, more understanding. But wisdom is about applying that to your real life experiences. So I think that part of your kind of goal right now is to focus on healing, and you may need to learn more in order to do that. However, I think the real blessing is going to come from integrating and trying and experimenting with things in your life. So maybe you mix up the way that you eat and you go onto an elimination diet, for example. Or maybe you try different types of exercise. It's like you're trying different things on based off of what you kind of learned about, and then you realize based off of the feedback of your body what is working, and you gain real life wisdom through those experiences. So that is what Venus retrograde is bringing you, is you kind of going out there and learning from people and then integrating it and coming into a phase of greater passion and healing. Okay, so we have 2 more messages here. We have the Sun card upright, Ace of Swords upright, and Knight of Wands in reverse. So it's interesting that we got the Passion card and we have the Knight of Wands in reverse, because I really feel like the Knight of Wands is one of the most passionate and kind of like foolhardy cards, where they jump right into things that they love, and there's no inhibition in regards to personal expression and following what they desire or what they're passionate about. So with this card in reverse, this indicates that maybe has been something that you've kind of let that go a little bit. Like, maybe life has become really weighed down with responsibilities, or maybe you've been really serious because some negative things have been happening in your life or in the world, and things have been feeling maybe a little bit stressful. And so I feel like you guys are meant to be coming back to your lightheartedness. And I think you're going to find some new ideas or like new ways of doing this with the Ace of Swords and the Sun. Some of you guys are going to have like some kind of clarity or breakthrough in some type of way that is going to lead you maybe on another path that you're really passionate about, or is going to help you pick up some kind of new hobby. It feels very much like a new idea. I did mention revisiting stuff here in the Passion card because Venus is retrograde, and usually that's connected to our past. However, with the Ace of Swords and the Sun, this also feels like something new is coming from this. So maybe you revisit something old and it leads you eventually to a new passion or a new feeling of like a new idea for something that you're excited about in your life. I don't know. It just feels like whatever this Venus retrograde does, it's going to kind of spit you out in a little bit of a different place where life is going to feel more exciting, more alive, and less maybe bogged down in kind of seriousness. The next message is 8 of Swords, upright, Empress upright, and 4 of Swords in reverse. So The Four of Swords, when it's upright, is usually talking about somebody who's in the state of being very pensive and meditative, and they're resting in life and recuperating and kind of coming back to themselves after a long period of maybe wounding. And with this healing card, I do think this pile speaks to this, where you maybe have been resting a lot because of some kind of sickness, some kind of cold. Maybe you've needed, even if you haven't been resting, maybe you've needed to rest, or you've been a little burnt out with something. There's something here. It's like you're needing to recoup your energy, your finances, your body, like coming back up to ground zero, because you've been a little bit like below that. You've been a little bit trying to catch up, right? Get stabilized again. And this Four of Swords in reverse to me is telling me that you are ending a period, or at least this Venus retrograde, the result of it will be that you are ending a period of kind of recalibration or need to recoup, I guess. And you're coming into a phase of having more energy. So once Venus retrograde is over, which I think it's April 12th. I have it in my notes, but I'm forgetting. But it's mid-April. I think it's April 12th. So once that period is over, you're going to be a lot more out in life again. I think you're going to be really kind of, this whole resting period and this trying to heal is going to get a lot better. And really, I think it's going to be even once Venus leaves your sixth house, which is going to be March 27th. So once it enters into your fifth, I think automatically you're already going to start to be a little bit more like out there in the world. So it's going to end this phase of kind of needing to rehabilitate. The Eight of Swords and the Empress, there's something about, these are really, really different energies. The Eight of Swords is somebody who's like worried about everything and gets in their own head and doesn't trust the universe. And then the Empress card is about somebody who is in a state of flow and trust, and they just totally release to the divine. They're like, okay, I surrender to what your plan is for me. And Venus retrograding through Pisces feels like that. So there's something about this where I feel like you guys have maybe been like moving between extremes. Like maybe on one hand, you feel sometimes like anxious about where you're at, and then other times you feel like really trusting about where things are at. This could apply to one specific area of life. So if this is like finances, or if this is like romantic life or health or something, you might kind of oscillate between these two state of mind, where you might feel again like you're a little bit trapped, or you're not excelling and you're getting hard on yourself about it. And then other times where you're like, this is just part of the process, it's okay. And so I feel like also part of what's ending is this kind of period of always evaluating in between these two states of mind. I think that you guys are going to come again a little bit out of your head more, a little bit out of head, and a little bit more into your passion, to your fire, inner fire, your excitement, and like your body with this healing energy. I don't know. I feel like maybe you've had a lot of time to think about things. And once Venus retrograde is over, I almost feel like you're going to be busier, and it's going to be less of this time of like, let me sit and recoup and be thinking about how I view this and how I view life. And not to say there's a right way or wrong way. I mean, I think the Empress is obviously better in terms of, giving us more abundance, and trusting the universe has our back, is always going to serve you in terms of your well-being. However, I also think that this is kind of just saying you're going to drop this in a way. Like you're going to be not even thinking about it once things get busy again. So it's not even like, oh, I'm doing all this work to overcome my anxiety over this. No, it's like I'm no longer in a state of sitting there and recouping or being behind the scenes or whatever you're having to do right now that's kind of having you a little bit pulled away from life in some kind of way. So yeah, I feel like you're coming out of that. You're going to be really busy, and you're not going to have a chance to even overthink things anymore. So a really big part of this Venus retrograde, I think, is really trying to get you to feel more in flow with life, more in tune with life, more in tune with your body, your passion, your interests. Listen to kind of the information around you, or look into more things, like learn about things that you're interested in right now, like different passion interests, or about health, or whatever this is pertaining to, and experiment with that. Try those things on and integrate them. And I think that you'll find that this period is really rewarding for you as you come out of it. So it feels like 2 cycles are kind of ending with the final cards in reverse. You know, it's like Venus retrograde is giving you more activity and more passion, but you might have to do some things at this time to realign with that goal. So that's what I'm saying for you, Scorpio. If that resonates, I'd love to hear from you in the comments down below. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up, subscribe, share with your friends, and have a beautiful day. Bye. All right, I'm next to Sagittarius rising and sun. For you guys, this Venus retrograde is happening in the sign of Aries, which is in your 5th house. And then also it will be retrograding into the sign of Pisces, which is your 4th house. This is from March 1st to the middle of March, which I believe is March 12th. And let's dive into what the cards say for you, and I'll start bringing in the astrology. So we start off with the blood card. This is going to be the blockage that you guys have that Venus retrograde is going to help you resolve. So the blood card indicates something about teamwork, unity, working together. If you think about the blood carries everything to different parts of the body. So you know, there's something here around like a network, basically, a community, a way of communicating, a way of sharing information and sharing resources. There's something about this that you may be blocked with. So maybe you feel like you don't have enough of a network around you to support you. Maybe you've wanted to join a community or start some kind of community event as a leader and you haven't done that. There's something here where it's that feeling of like we are working together is not really happening. And with this card here, this is describing that she who divines future choice and judgment. This might indicate some necessary choices that you're going to have to make around the future of certain relationships. This could also speak to you thinking about your sense of community and how that is going to look in the future. Maybe this is something that you are connecting to when it comes to the past with this card here. You know, maybe you're thinking about relationships of the past and people who are going to be a part of your future and how you feel about them now and how all these relationships make sense. And, you know, if you feel good about the people in your life or not. And there could just be quite a lot of thinking going on around that, and maybe even some worry or some anxiety around the future when it comes to networks and community and relationships. So that's where you're blocked at. And again, Venus retrograde is going to help you naturally resolve this. So for further context, Venus is going to be retrograding into your 5th house first in Aries. And we got the Courage card. So there's something here where you guys might need to be kind of building up your sense of belief for yourself. We got the Courage and the Wise leadership. So this feels like there's something out there in the world that you guys might need to somehow take a stand against something, or you might need to lead others in a group with something, or you might need to somehow like put yourself out there in some type of way. And yeah, I mean, lead. Obviously, you got to lead yourself, lead others. There's just something in your life that's trying to have you believe more in yourself, in your ideas, in your what you're valuing, what you want to prioritize. And it's having you try to act on those things with greater courage, with greater wisdom and leadership and resilience. So yeah, I don't know. It's like if you've always had an idea, for example, to start a women's group around a specific topic, but you say, oh no, I'll do that later, or maybe another time, or I don't know if I should do that. This Venus retrograde could bring that idea back up and try to help you gain the courage and confidence to take up a position like that. So something in your life that you need to have courage to do, and it may involve leading others or somehow standing up for something or being a part of something that makes moves or ruffles feathers, or that has a specific mission that you're involved in, something like that, that is going to require your courage. Venus retrograding through the 4th house, through Pisces, is going to be about grounding. This is a period where you really need to connect to the earth. You need to connect to your sense of security. This could be a good time to maybe stockpile some extra food around the house, meal prep. This could be a good time to kind of pare down the things that you don't want and collect more of the things that you do want. to save some money, to create a stronger sense of emotional security through ritual or through practices and your day-to-day habits that help you take care of yourself or connect to spirit. There's just something here where it's like you need to get outside in nature. You need to feel stable. You need to feel like emotionally centered. And Venus retrograde through Pisces will be really like starting on the 27th through April 12th. So basically the first half of April, this is your time to be grounding into your body. Maybe you eating root vegetables, for example, with these potatoes, or just finding some sense of security and stability in your life. The blessing that you'll get out of this phase is the wise leadership. So this card I already spoke to. I think that there's going to be something that you might need to kind of take ownership over. Maybe you need to step up in some way, like you no longer trust or rely on somebody else or something else to take care of you for some reason, and you become more autonomous, or you do something that even takes care of others or leads others in some capacity. So I just see you like coming out into the world more, or taking up more space, or making more decisions, or something here about like authorship, authority, agency. That's the kind of energy that I'm seeing here. It's like, I'm going to take responsibility for this. I can make the moves for this, and I'm going to rely on myself and maybe even lead others. So that's Venus retrograding through your 5th house in Aries. And then when it gets to your 4th in Pisces, I think this is a time in which the past is going to come back up to the surface. The 4th house is the most hidden house of astrology, and it really represents where we have a lot of a culmination of our past kind of woven into our own DNA. And these are like our very, very early childhood experiences. They are our ancestry and our lineage, and how the past has literally affected us on a physical, visceral level, in our genetics and all that sort of things. And also just experiences of the past and the emotions that store in the body. It's a lot of these past experiences that are not something that we are always actively thinking about or are very conscious of how they play out in our lives. I feel like this Venus retrograde is really going to bring a lot of it to the surface, and you're like, oh, I'm seeing the consequences of something from the past. Like if I have some past life even of maybe being burned at the stake for being a witch, maybe you put yourself out there and you are a leader with some metaphysical group, and then all these feelings of fear come out from this past experience, but it's so far into your past, not even in this lifetime, that you don't have like awareness of the origin. So just know that if things start to bubble up in April, there's a lot going on here that's trying to help you process past events that are not always, again, active within the conscious mind, or that you have this awareness of. So this is going to be important to ground, because I think you're going to need a lot more energy to stabilize yourself, because I think that a lot of the stuff is going to be worked through. So if you encounter any weird kind of feelings, it might be actually related to something in the past that you're not even thinking about at the time. So that's the blessings that you're going to get. You're going to be able to release that past energy that's maybe you're wearing like a backpack, and you're going to be able to step up more into your own authority and take charge with something this month that may feel a little intimidating, or you might have kind of put off. Okay, so 2 other messages. So we have the tarot with the 6 of Wands, Ace of Wands, the Empress, and the Queen of Wands. So many Wands cards, really, really positive Wands cards. I really feel like this Venus retrograde in the 5th house is a lot around recognition and success, and feeling like we are being really honored for like what our natural gifts are and what we bring to the table. So there's just something that you're going to do this month with this wise leadership card, the courage card, and all these wands. I feel like you're going to have a lot of courage, a lot of confidence. And from that, you're actually going to get some type of breakthrough in terms of, again, recognition, or maybe even financial gain with this Empress card. Or maybe the women in your life will be really supportive of you, or you're going to have some kind of creative idea that a lot of people are going to be gravitating towards. So there's just something here around your ideas that I feel like if you act on them, or if you are courageous and willing to stand up for what you believe, you're going to notice that you gain a lot of recognition, that you gain a lot of confidence, that there is a natural kind of pull or magnetism towards your mission that other people might feel as well. So there's just something here around follow the fire, follow the passion, the inspiration with this Ace of Wands, and it's going to lead you to some type of feeling of success. And that might be fully cultivated after Venus goes direct in the middle of April. Your second message here is Ten of Swords in reverse and the King of Pentacles upright. So this feels like the Venus retrograding through Pisces, where you need to let go of something from your past. The Ten of Swords in reverse is kind of this energy of somebody really holding on to something that wants to leave their life. Like it's been pulling away, or it's been causing a lot of dysfunction in that person's life. It's been causing health issues or anxiety, or it's just something in your life that's like clearly over. It's been over, but it's being dragged along. And as a result of that, it's causing some type of symptoms, or it's creating some type of anxiety or emotional experience. There's just something in your life that's like, let's let the past stay in the past. Let's let this cycle complete itself. Let's just let this end. But when it's in reverse, there is a resistance towards that ending. So I feel like this Venus retrograde, you're finally going to overcome some type of resistance to an ending. And it's going to lead you to a lot more financial stability. So I don't know what you're ending, but in particular, it's going to help you with this leadership energy, this financial abundance energy. So maybe it's some old cycle of spending money poorly or asking for less than you deserve, or maybe there's some old job that you finally leave and you find something else that pays you a lot better. I'm not sure what this is, but there's something that's going to, once you release it, it's going to kind of catapult you to some kind of material success with the King of Pentacles. So it's almost like you have, this feels like it's invisible. And that's kind of what I was getting with the past, is there's something in your past that I feel like is unconscious or invisible. It's not something that is like, oh, I smoke and I have to stop smoking. And it's like a very physical experience that you can see. I feel like this is more invisible, this Ten of Swords. It's something that is maybe an emotion or an energy, and it could result in certain behaviors that are physical, sure, but it just feels like there's something that you're carrying as energetic baggage that you haven't really let go of fully. And you're going to realize during this Venus retrograde how you haven't let go of that fully. I don't know how it's going to manifest on the physical level or in your mind, but there's going to be, I feel like a weightlessness, like you're going to remove this weight from you. And you're going to notice that something is lighter or something is now free for you as a result of doing that, even if you don't know always what it's from or where that cause was or what you're holding on to. So I think you're going to naturally process this on your own. I don't think you have to make this kind of effort all the time. I think Venus retrograde is really going to help you. I think the effort that you need to put is to grounding and really focusing on the basics. Like how well do I sleep at night? What kind of foods am I eating? Am I praying or meditating? The foundations of life. And from there, it's going to help you naturally release and again, catapult you to some kind of material success. Because I just think about somebody scuba diving, they put weights on you so that your BCD, that when you inflate it, that you don't kind of just like run to the surface, basically. You want to have this equilibrium, this balance with having a little bit of weight and then also the buoyancy from your BCD. So when the Ten of Swords is in reverse, I feel like you're dropping the weights that you have around your waist and you shoot up to the surface. And that's, in this case, it's a good thing. And when you're scuba diving, that's a really bad thing. But with the King of Pentacles, there's something about that shooting to the surface that's like, you are manifesting something into the physical. You are having some type of success come to its fulfillment, to its completion. So yeah, I feel like that's what I'm seeing for you guys. There's something here around relationships and your feeling of support and community. I think you're going to be reevaluating this month. I think you're also going to be stepping more into your own courage and into some type of leadership position, and it's going to attract abundance to you. And I think you're going to be grounding into hopefully your physical body, or grounding in any way. And I think that's going to help you release some of this past gunk so that you can manifest some material reality with this King of Pentacles. So that's what I'm seeing for you, my beautiful Sagittarius. I hope that resonates. If it does, please let me know in the comments down below. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up, subscribe, share with your friends, and have a beautiful day. Bye. All right, up next we have Capricorn rising and sun. For you guys, this Venus retrograde is going to be moving through your 4th house in Aries, and it's going to also be moving through your 3rd house when Venus retrogrades into Pisces. So Venus retrograde is from March 1st till I believe it's April 12th, sometime mid-April. I think it's April 12th. I will clarify in the comments down below. But yeah, so let's start off with this. So the first card that I pulled for you is your blockage card. Everyone, I'm pulling this card to discuss what Venus retrograde is going to help them unblock and create more flow around. For you, it's the heart, which is really interesting because let's start off with the clarifier of the heart first. And it's she who frees, liberation, unrestrained, and freedom. There's something about your heart, trusting your heart, your intuition, your emotions about things that you might feel really deeply about right now. You might feel very, very passionate about something right now. It's funny because when I saw this heart card paired with this, I was like thinking of that quote, "Be still, my beating heart," or something like that. I think it might be from a Shakespeare play or something. But there's something here around this where you guys might feel very, very strongly, but you're kind of holding it back. You're holding it down. It's like you don't want to be disappointed by something or hurt by somebody. This card talks about falling in love and you jump right into it, but then, or you want to jump right into it, but then you're scared because you don't want to be hurt. So you kind of pull back. Or you're really excited about this idea and you get almost manic with excitement about this new idea, this new plan, but then you pull back. And there's just something here around needing to liberate yourself so that you can feel your feelings when you feel them, that you're not trying to control your joy or your sadness or your anger, that I guess I shouldn't say that universally for everybody. It's probably good to control some anger if you got issues, for example, but for the most part, to allow your feelings to fully take place, to ripen, and then to go through their own cycle, and to listen to the heart when it's excited about something, to allow yourself to feed into an idea that feels good, I think is something that you are encouraged this month. Because I think when Venus is retrograding through our 4th house, sometimes we can, the 4th house stores our emotions and our feelings. And sometimes we can be scared to feel things that we've felt before. And when Venus retrogrades here, it's almost a reminder to let go of those past feelings and embrace currently what you're going through now in an uninhibited type of way. And then with the Strength card, it's funny because I was shuffling the deck a bunch and I saw this card and I was like, this card really makes sense for their group. And then it finally fell out and I was like, okay, of course it fell out. So there's something about strength, heart, Leo, all these have kind of similar meanings of listening to your heart, trusting yourself, trusting your own instincts with things, leaning into your emotions, and seeing them also as a strength instead of a weakness. And I also think with the sword on here, you guys have a really powerful mind as well, that you can use your logic in combination with your emotions to advance you to towards what you want. Because if you have super strong emotions and you only buy into those emotions, then you can really get ungrounded and really caught up in stuff, and you can get delusional or not do what it takes, or realize that there are certain things that you need to respect in reality, or certain logical things that you're not thinking about. I don't think that's an issue with you guys. You're Capricorn, you're Saturn ruled, you're very practical in nature. And I think Saturn tends to focus on limitations and what it can't have. And it has a weird affinity with suffering. And I can say all this because I'm a Capricorn moon. So I really understand the Capricorn plight. So there's something here around being able to just be strong in your own mind, strong enough that you can also allow your emotions to be somewhat uninhibited, to be free, to be felt, to be unleashed, and to feed into them, or not feed into them maybe, but listen to them, give them all the space that they need, because you're strong enough in your own mind and your own logic to not just get pulled out to sea with the depths of these feelings. So, the blessings that you're going to get from this Venus retrograde is stillness, the moon, and co-creation. So this really speaks a lot to what we were talking about. And I think Venus retrograding through the 4th house is a lot like this, where you're coming back to yourself. You're coming back to your needs, to your feelings, to your wants. You're getting to know yourself on a deeper level. And you're doing that through stillness. Stillness through maybe having less information going on, less socialization at certain points, or maybe there's just certain ways in which you can somehow unplug from the world and get your own space for yourself and listen to your heart during those periods. The moon speaks about emotions as well. The moon also can speak about our home and our family and our comfort zone and our sense of security and familiarity. And with Venus retrograding, those are all areas of your life that are going through a revamp. So maybe you decide to do something different with your home. Maybe you decide that you want to set more money aside to feel secure in your future. Maybe you spend more time with your family and you decide to reprioritize and value your time with your family more. There's just something going on here where I think you're coming back to your roots, to what makes you feel your most secure and your most authentic. And you're allowing also that authenticity of emotion to be free, to be liberated, and not try to control or confine it in any way. Then the last card we have is co-creation. So it's from this really centered place that I see you guys being able to manifest and magnetize things to you. It feels like a very feminine energy, all of these cards. So there's something about this Venus retrograde period that might be helping you tap more into Venus in general, because as a Saturn ruled sign, you guys are very focused on what work do I have to do to make something come into reality? Like, what physical labor do I have to produce to make a result? Venus is a lot more around the element of support and attracting what you want into your life through feeling like you are in a creative flow, or feeling like you are talking to the right people, making the right kinds of connections, or following these instincts that you have on a feminine level that lead you towards some kind of outcome. So I feel like you're shifting modes a little bit from just producing to more of a phase of attraction, and realizing that it doesn't have to require so much effort, that you can actually rest and still get the same or even better results because of the energy that you are bringing to the equation when you are resting. Okay, so that's like the blessing that you're going to get from this. Let's talk about what else I see with the tarot here. So we have 10 of Cups, the Death card, and then the 7 of Cups in reverse. So I really feel like, with the 10 of Cups coming out, which is the best card in all of tarot, it's the happiest card. And then we have the heart here. It's like there's something that you need to just believe in fully, or fully be happy about, and allow yourself to really, allow your heart to expand and really let all of that love in, all of that excitement and fulfillment into your life. Because one of the things with Capricorns is there sometimes can be, again, an affinity with suffering, and you might not realize that you're actually always kind of waiting for the other shoe to drop, or you're never quite letting the good fully in and digesting it. And this month, I feel like this Venus retrograde is asking you to do that. And with the followed by the Death and the 7 of Cups, I feel like you're finally coming into this period where you know what you want. I think that this time alone, listening to your heart, feeling into your feelings, and not trying to apply so much logic to it or so much practicality to it that you lose sight of what it is that you're feeling. Not that you shouldn't use your logic. That's there as well. I mean, don't let that go away. But I think that there's something about when you're really, really tuning into what you feel, you will know what you want. And from that place, you will get clarity. Because some of you guys might be on a phase where you've had a lot of options, a lot of ideas. Maybe there's this kind of feeling of having your hand in many different pots, or seeing a lot of different potentials. And you're kind of feeding into these dreams and these potentials, but you're not really fulfilling any particular one of them. You're not really going down one of them wholeheartedly and giving it your all. or maybe you are, but you have other things, that another choice coming up that you're going to have to make. So maybe you're really fulfilled in your career, but maybe there's a choice in your relationships you have to make, or in another area of your life that you have to make, like where to live, or some other element of your career. And I see you making that choice this month, or month and a half, and I see you gaining clarity in a way that's going to help you commit to a specific path. And it's going to change you on a fundamental level. If you've been kind of feeling like not fully invested in something, or scattered your energy, or again, kind of thinking about a lot of possibilities, I feel like that's going to really start to channel all into one specific place and move mountains, really, because you're going to have the full weight of the 10 of Cups in your heart, where your heart is 100% in this. You know that you want this. It excites you, it illuminates you, and you're going for it 110%. And that's going to change you as a person and change your life and your life path. So it seems like a really big month for you, my Capricorns. We also have the other set of message, the Fool, the Knight of Pentacles in reverse, and the Empress. This to me feels like when Venus is retrograding through Pisces in your third house, you're going to be coming into a phase of kind of whimsy, where you might be needing to reevaluate your sense of mobility and kind of prioritize more of the movement, the social connections, the learning, the adapting to your environment, that type of thing, where you are in a phase of, again, movement in some type of way, either socially, physically moving, learning more, moving your body, moving your brain cells. I don't know. So I think that you get what I'm saying, but there's a feeling of like needing to encounter newness that comes with the Fool card and with Venus retrograding through the third house. And so I think as a result of this retrograde period, you're going to have the blessing of some type of newness, new beginning, new energy coming into your life. And again, feeling like lighter on your feet, more adaptable. Maybe you're traveling during this period or slightly after this period, when it goes direct in the middle of April. So there's something here. It's like, let's get on your feet. Let's prioritize like not being stuck and weighed down. With the Knight of Pentacles in reverse, you might have felt recently like every day has been the same. You've been in a routine. You've been doing your work, doing your grind. And this period with Venus retrograde in Pisces in the third is trying to help you feel extremely, Pisces is a mutable water sign. It's very flowy, right? It doesn't have a specific like expectation of the day and a structure of the day and super routine. I think it's trying to get you more into this place of, again, whimsy, spontaneity, newness, movement, excitement, and however that looks for you. I think for some of you, it could be learning something new, meeting new people, traveling. I already mentioned those things. Could be through any method, but it's the energy that matters. And this Venus retrograde is going to bring you that. And it's going to help you become more of this Empress, like somebody who trusts the flow of life. They notice that they can flow or go with the things that seem to be working, that they don't have to be consistent and the same every single day with something, that they can, again, like listen to their instincts and their intuition more and follow where the tide or the current, I should say, is naturally pulling them. Instead of trying to be the rock, you are the water in this instance, and you are moving with the current and going to your destination. And you're going to find that it helps you move really quickly, that it helps you, like your life might accelerate, especially after this retrograde period ends, or even during, but especially after. It might help you with the changes and adapting to like how, not volatile, but a little chaotic life can get. But I don't feel it's chaos. It feels like a rhythm, like a pulse, like you're tapped into the pulse of life, and you're flowing with that pulse of life, and it's getting you quickly to some kind of result. And it's also making you feel really abundant. So that's what I'm seeing for you, Capricorn. It looks like you are really becoming unrestrained in your feelings, and it's helping you realize what it is that you really want and commit to that thing, as well as move into a phase of your life where you are also open-minded and adaptable with other areas of your life. So yes, you'll be committed to this path, this thing that you want, and you will see that to fulfillment. But along that journey, your life might take a lot of twists and turns and ask you to have some kind of fresh start, some kind of new beginning, something that gets you out of a rut or gets you out of a routine. And it's through this process that you're going to gain a lot of abundance, a lot of fulfillment, and a lot of self-awareness as well. So again, that's what I'm seeing for you, Capricorn. If that resonates, I'd love to hear from you in the comments down below. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up, subscribe, share with your friends, and have a beautiful day. Bye. All right, up next we have Aquarius rising and sun. So Venus is retrograde from March 1st till I believe April 12th. It's retrograding from Aries in your 3rd house into Pisces, which is in your 2nd house. So what is going on with this for you guys? Let's start off with the cards. We'll weave in the astrology. So the pancreas. This talks about insecurity, self-doubt, issues with self-esteem, and most importantly, issues around self-destructive behaviors or addictive behaviors that you are using to cover up your feelings. So it's interesting because the pancreas is the organ most involved in insulin production and helping basically to prevent diabetes and things like that. So there's something about that where it's like if there's too much glucose in the body, there's not like the body can't fully absorb it. So diabetes can develop. And basically what I'm trying to say with all of this is that what I've noticed is that there can be like this desire for kind of more and more sweetness to kind of cover up the feeling of not maybe letting something in or letting something be felt. And to clarify this, I have the she who doubts, fear, wariness, and trust. So it's really interesting that trust comes up here and here. So there's something around maybe you're having trouble trusting yourself, trusting another person, trusting the universe. Maybe you are fearful, you are anxious, you're worried, you're tired, you are overthinking things, or you are in a period of just turning to maybe, again, these addictive behaviors like eating a lot of sweets or going on a lot of doing a lot of gaming. I don't know, there's just something here where it's like you're not really feeling that good in this phase of life at this exact point during this Venus retrograde. And with Venus retrograde through your 3rd house, I feel like your mind in particular is kind of getting the better of you in a way. Like it's like causing you to overthink. You can see with this 7 of Swords, 8 of Swords, this is somebody who's overthinking and who's trapping themselves in their own fears. And with the 7 of Swords, it's also somebody who tries to ignore those thoughts and feelings by avoiding it through some kind of like self-deception or, any kind of Aquarius thing is like very much related to detachment and avoidance. So I often see my Aquariuses kind of going off into another realm. And that has its time and place that, we can't always be super dense here in this earth. But I think that there's something here about this month where you are having trouble calming your mind or coming to a place of calm with certain elements here and it's triggering up this kind of fight or flight instinct or the survival instinct, basically stress, cortisol, HPA axis dysfunction. And from that place, you are making unwise decisions like trying to coping behaviors that are unhealthy to avoid having to fully sit in this discomfort, essentially. So that's something that I have a lot of experience with. So I totally empathize with a cycle like this. And I think it's really temporary. This Venus retrograde is pointing out the cycle. It's pointing out how this is a block for you, how avoiding feelings about something or throwing yourself into something new or something distracting is actually causing you unwellness. And it's a way that you are defeating yourself and creating more seeds of doubt or uncertainty because you're never actually allowing those initial seeds of doubt and uncertainty to grow in a way that are that's like visible, that you can handle, that you can deal with. Instead, you ignore it and it actually ends up inadvertently planting more seeds of doubt and mistrust with the self or with others. So it's like something needs to be addressed in terms of how you feel. And you can really see that with this moon card in reverse. It's like you're not when the moon card is upright, it's, well, first of all, the moon talks about our emotions in astrology. With it in reverse, it's a disconnect from the emotions of something, not trusting your instincts and your intuition with something, or not slowing down enough to really take care of yourself and listen to yourself or make certain changes in your life, not regarding yourself and trusting yourself. The moon is also in tarot is representative of something hidden. So when it's in reverse, this is saying that Venus retrograde is going to illuminate those elements of your life, that it's going to make hidden what you have tried to hide from yourself. And with the Six of Cups, this is related to something in the past, maybe related to something in regards to children or your childhood. So there's something about either one of those things. Maybe if you have children, maybe you've been anxious about something with them, but you've been pushing that aside and trying to act like you're not actually bothered. But in truth, you are bothered by this. You are upset by this, and you're going to have to face and process some of these feelings so that you don't keep resorting to coping mechanisms that are feeding into more of the unhealthy pattern. That's just an example. It can be anything. It could be related to something from your own childhood and from your own past where you have certain emotions that, you were taught certain things maybe, or you have certain feelings as a result of some experiences that you kind of just pushed down because maybe you didn't have time to deal with it then, or the capacity. And now Venus retrograde in your third is bringing those things up. Maybe it's bringing it up through something on social media, or somebody saying something, or you having a random thought about something. But Venus retrograde is going to bring up people and issues from the past, or just circumstances or just emotions from the past that you really need to put to rest because they're feeding into this cycle of avoidance here. So that's one of the things that you're going to move throughout this experience here. One of your messages here is to focus on the things that are going well in your life. Venus retrograde to the third is about getting your mind on your side. And that means that you are focusing on the things that build you up, that help make your life a better life, focusing on the positive. This also means that it's time to, in some ways, focus on certain elements of your life that you've been avoiding, or again, have been running from or detached from in some way. It means focus on your feelings. You can still be positive when seeing the things that have happened, when facing your anxieties and fears. You can still focus on the positive while seeing the reality of a situation. And I think that's a really big message for you. The other card, the Trust card, I think this speaks more to Venus retrograde and Pisces in your second. You need to build self-trust and maybe trust in the universe, but a lot of that comes from self-trust. Like, I am going to make the right choice. I am doing the right thing. I have my own back. I will support myself if something goes wrong. I know I'm strong and resilient. That's the kind of trust I'm talking about, where, yes, it involves trust in the universe because it is in Pisces, but the second house is really a very autonomous, self-sufficient house. And I think that you're meant to be coming into a phase of a lot more self-trust, and that is applied by making the right decisions that support you and not just investing in coping mechanisms and avoiding the reality of something. Some of you guys might be in a phase of like the in-between with something. Maybe there is some kind of transition that you are in a phase with right now, and it could feel a little bit uncomfortable, and that might be why you're resorting to some of these, avoidance tactics. So it's possible that some of you guys might feel that. I mean, your goddesses that are here to guide you are helping liberate you from this feeling of maybe being in that limbo. And kind of like powerless, because there's something about the in-between where we can't really get out of it faster. I almost feel like it's like if there's a video game and there's a plot of land here and a plot of land here and then space in the middle, and you have to jump from the land into the air, and then eventually you'll make it to the other piece of land. This air in the middle is actually not air, it's like space. And in space you float, and you can't use your arms and make yourself go a lot further. You have to kind of float, and you don't have the power or the gravity or the land to kind of get traction and move yourself. There's a period of being suspended. And that is something that I think that you might be in a phase with in your life, or you are trying to come out of that. But a lot of this being suspended means that you have to trust. You have to trust that you're going to land on the other side when you do. You have to trust in divine timing that you are where you're meant to be right now. And you have to trust so that you don't try to force things to happen that are not really working because it's not the time. And so there's something about this period where you are in a transition, you're in between, you're suspended a little bit in some phase of your life that might feel uncomfortable. But this Venus retrograde period is showing how this is going to be coming to an end with this liberation. Maybe you, at the end of Venus retrograde, you're no longer going to be in the in-between and you're going to have clarity on something, or you're going to have traction, or things are going to be moving or flowing more easily, feeling more in your control. So it's something about this Venus retrograde period in general that could feel like I'm, again, suspended, but then by the end of it, you're liberated from it. And at the very least, you're liberated from the discomfort of feeling like you're kind of stuck or powerless. And a lot of this is coming after you come into a place with communion with God. So you can't, the feeling of being suspended is the time when we are most in connection with spirit. And when we're on the ground, we are much more dense, we're much more earthly, and we're productive and busy. And it's not a time when we're as connected to our soul. So in this suspension period, you are being asked to connect more with your divine purpose, or with your higher self, or looking at the signs, synchronicities, praying more, connecting more, so that you feel like you are feeding into and connecting with your soul during the time in life when you are meant to be doing that. And once you do that, it will help kind of create a little bit more spaciousness, or help you move a little bit more to that land. So it's like a very intentional pause in life when we have this in between. And the intention behind it from a spiritual point is the communion with God. So again, once you do that and not resist that, if you're coping and you're avoiding things by watching TV and eating and running and you're going to avoid the communion piece. You're going to avoid your connection with your soul. And when you're doing that, you're lingering longer in this uncomfortable space of the in-between. So take the time out to really connect with yourself. Connect with your past, or with children, or your childhood. And allow yourself to process whatever is going on in this in-between, and then you will eventually land at the end of this retrograde period. The second message, we have Ace of Cups, Judgment, and Strength. So yeah, I feel like you guys are coming into a phase of maybe reevaluating certain things. The Judgment card is often about an awakening. And with the Ace of Cups, I feel like this is coming from the emotional breakthrough that you're going to have. So there's some kind of, again, reconnection to the self. And with Venus retrograding in Pisces second, I think it's a lot of building up your sense of self-trust and self-reliance, and connecting to what your heart really wants from you. And this will provide this Ace of Cups breakthrough experience where you have some kind of emotional revelation around maybe something that you want to change or adapt to or become more of. And it leads to the Strength card. And the Strength indicates resilience, courage, self-trust, bravery, and feeling like you can make your way onto that new land. Like you're building yourself up by taking the time out to connect with your soul and realizing or allowing yourself to awaken to certain things about yourself and your life. And from that place, you're a lot stronger and more powerful moving forward. In a practical sense, Venus retrograding through the third house can represent needing to have important conversations around things of the past. Maybe you'll meet up with people from the past. When Venus retrogrades through your second, you could have some changes in regards to how you manage your finances. But really, it's a lot about building this self-belief and self-trust. And that could be because you do budget differently, or because you have those difficult conversations or make the hard decisions that you need to make. Regardless, whatever you do decide to do that is focused on your own inner truth, you will find that it creates, again, this resilience and this courage, and leads to more fulfillment in your life. So that's what I'm seeing for you, Aquarius. If that resonates with you, please let me know in the comments down below. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up as well. Subscribe, share with your friends, and have a beautiful day. Bye. All right, and last but not least, we have Pisces rising and sun. So for you guys, Venus is going to be retrograding through Aries in your second house from March 1st to 27th, and then through Pisces, your first house, from 27th to April 12th. So what does this have, or what does this entail for you guys? Let's start off with the cards. So the first card that I've been pulling for all the groups is the card around your blockage. You guys have the Eye. The Eye is something that you are not seeing, that you're not willing to see, that you are lying to yourself about, that I feel like you are going to become very, very aware of during this Venus retrograde cycle. This did, the clarifier for this is she who hopes, love, hope, and relationships. So this very likely pertains to some kind of dynamic with yourself and another person, or with your general love life and how you are in relationships. There's something in regards to this that I feel like you guys are becoming really aware of now. And this could be any kind of relationship. It doesn't have to be romantic love. So really, there's anything in life that you have been maybe kind of not being totally honest with yourself about that area of your life, but specifically that relationship and how you see that relationship. I think you're going to become a lot more aware as Venus retrogrades, especially through your sign Pisces, when it gets to your first house. And in astrology in general, there can be an activation of the house opposite the house where something is taking place. So with a Venus retrograde in the first, this can activate the 7th house of partnerships. So as you become more self-aware, you also become more aware of what you tolerate in relationships, or what your dynamic is with certain people, or how you've been maybe playing out certain patterns, or anything like that. So I think that you're going to become really self-aware, and that's going to help you become aware of maybe some toxicity in relationships, or some things that are very outdated that need to be updated in regards to your relationships, some things that need to be thrown out or looked at through new eyes, or addressed that haven't been fully addressed yet. Venus retrograding through the first house can also really point to you wanting to do something about your appearance that is different. With this vitality card, this could be about health or appearance. With the snake on here, I feel like you guys are going through some kind of transformation, and one that is going to lead you to greater sense of stability and empowerment and more vitality. So this Venus retrograde is going to show you maybe some things that are toxic in terms of habits, or in terms of your eating, or even in terms of things that you consume digitally. Just anything that can kind of get in there and rot your brain, rot your body, create some gut dysbiosis, or any other basically dysfunction within the body or the mind or the heart. So I think you're coming into a phase of recognizing what is important to you. And in order to kind of comply with Venus retrograde, I think you're going to be making some necessary changes in accordance to those values and priorities, and it's going to lead to more vitality in your life. So what blessings are you going to get from this Venus retrograde? Illusion in reverse. With the Eye being the first card I pulled, and then the illusion reversed, I really feel like you're coming into a phase of seeing something for truly how it is. There's no more lying. There's no more sugarcoating something or avoiding something or evading it. You guys are coming into a phase of 100% clarity and honesty, and it is going to kind of force the light into some situation. If someone, for example, has been cheating on somebody else in a relationship and you have strong Pisces, that would be revealed during a Venus retrograde. Venus retrograde does challenge relationships oftentimes because it can take away that sense of compassion. But for you guys, I actually think that it's going to help you a lot, because realizing the illusion in something and facing it is the first step. The second step is the forgiveness piece. So some of you guys might decide to, let's just go with the cheating thing. Obviously, that's going to apply to very, very few of you, if any, but it's just an example. So there might be something that you're not seeing within the relationship, that you're not acknowledging. And then when you do, you're going to have to forgive yourself or that person for what is going on. Because again, this is something toxic, this is something unhealthy, imbalanced, and you deserve better. And so you might, again, have to find a way to create forgiveness in the relationship, talk this out, forgive. Again, even if you don't stay with that person, you might need to forgive them and yourself for how long this has gone on, for example, and what this has done to you, in order to purify, to cleanse, to clear the air, which Venus retrograding through your sign is all about. Then we have the new beginnings card. So whether you stay with this person or you end up leaving this person and no longer being their friend or being in relationship with them or being close to them as a parent or whoever this is, I see some kind of new beginning. So either in the connection, there's a revitalization and a complete regeneration of the relationship, and it's a new beginning in and of itself, or you decide to leave and have your own new beginning. So something in regards to this where you're having some kind of fresh start. And it's because you are willing to look at the illusion, forgive what's been done, be honest with yourself about what you need, and make the necessary changes that you're able to have this new beginning. Sometimes a relationship cannot be brought back. Sometimes you can forgive them and you can see the changes that need to be made, but there are times when it's just so far gone, the damage has been already done, and the patterns are so deeply ingrained that it's really hard to come out of that. So some of you guys, the new beginning could be cutting ties with some people, walking away from something in order to create more peace in your life and the possibility for greater relationships elsewhere. That's not going to apply to all of you, so don't worry if that doesn't feel in resonance with you. Okay, let's look at the two tarot messages here. So we have 5 of Swords in reverse, 7 of Cups in reverse, Page of Wands in reverse. So I really feel like you guys have been going through some type of phase in life with another partner or with somebody else that has been maybe a little bit challenging. I think you're coming out of this though. 5 of Swords upright is all about conflict. When it's in reverse, you're coming out of a period of having disputes, conflict, issues with somebody else. So the tension between you and another person, I feel like you're forgiving it, you're letting it go, you're moving on. 7 of Cups in reverse is a lack of clarity around someone or something. So maybe you guys were having the same argument and you were running in circles. Maybe you were arguing with this person and you're wanting to leave, but you were questioning yourself and you felt like you didn't really know what you wanted. 7 of Cups is talking about somebody who doesn't have clarity, who doesn't know. There's a lot of choices, a lot of options, a lot of things that it could be. And there isn't one thing that is really standing out. And so when this card is in reverse, I feel like you guys are coming into a place of mental stability. You're no longer going in circles. You're no longer seeing a million options. You're no longer feeling clouded in your judgment about this person or around this fight. You understand the situation. You understand yourself. You understand the argument. You understand what's going on. And you are no longer going to feel like you're in this head in the clouds kind of energy. So it's a time where I think you're going to be very empowered as a result of Venus retrograde to see things how they truly are and to not allow someone else or something in your life to make you confused. With the Page of Wands in reverse, this could represent somebody who is ultimately not moving forward with something because they are fearful, they don't have enough courage. This could also represent somebody who is kind of playing into that childlike energy, like throwing temper tantrums or feeling really moody or being a little bit, I guess like allowing your moods to get the better of you and not doing the things that could constructively move your life forward in a positive direction. So that is what it represents when it's reversed. However, I feel like given the context of these cards, it's really speaking to this phase ending in your life. That once you kind of have this clarity where you stop fighting and you forgive, you're going to have clarity around what this was even about, why you were so confused, and what direction you need to move in. And from that phase, you're not going to be as temperamental and you're not going to be as like prone to changing your mind or not fulfilling what you need to fulfill in order to progress your life. So it feels like a process of maturation as a result of facing something in a relationship that needs to be faced. Forgiving it, letting it go, starting anew is going to free up energy in your life for you to dedicate to the things that really matter to you, that you have been wanting to put your time and energy into. Venus retrograding through the second house can be a lot around you examining your own ability to be alone. The second house is very self-sufficient, and it's a lot about what you value and your self-worth and what you bring to the table. So I think a lot of this process is also going to have you look at how you've ended up in this situation and how you may have certain insecurities or issues around being alone, or maybe not realizing your own value and your own worth and how you want that reflected in the relationship. And when Venus retrogrades to that house at the beginning, really most of March, I think it's going to be you kind of coming back into your own and realizing that you deserve better, but that you don't need to be in this struggle with whoever this is. It could be an entity. It doesn't have to be a person. It could be a business, for example, or a boss. Anywho, the next message that you have in the tarot is Hanged Wand, the Knight of Wands in reverse, and then the Ten of Wands upright. So the Hanged One is somebody who is like not really, they're in a phase of life where they're not really trying to like move things forward, especially with the Knight of Wands in reverse. This is somebody who is maybe feeling a little bit more pensive because they're trying to view life from a new perspective. They really need to pause and take a step away from life for a second, because they have a lot on their mind and they're trying to get their head on right. So I feel like this is what you've been doing. This kind of feeds off of this other message that you haven't been, maybe with the Page of Wands, you haven't been fully acting on stuff. Knight of Wands as well. Like there's stuff that maybe you make a little bit of progress on, but you're not really progressing that much because you have too much going on in your life with the Ten of Wands. Maybe you have too much stressors, too much going on in your relationships. Maybe you're taking on too much responsibility for others. Maybe you need to focus more on building up your confidence to be able to say no to people, to set certain boundaries, or reestablish different priorities in your life. But there's something going on here where you've been in this period of like kind of 2 steps forward, 1 step back, and you've been maybe progressing really slowly, or you feel like you are kind of reevaluating certain elements of your life and you're not even sure, again with the Seven of Cups in reverse, where you are going. But that's what I feel like you're coming out of with this Venus retrograde. I think you're finally going to let down some massive burden with the Ten of Wands, and it's going to free up your energy. It's this period that you've been in where you've been contemplating, thinking about your life differently, is going to serve its purpose, and it's going to then be channeled into energy of productivity or efficiency or making shit happen in the real world. But the current reality during Venus retrograde is a lot of like needing to clean up your mess, needing to clean up the stuff in your life that has been eating away at your confidence, eating away at your mobility or ability to move forward, the things that have been stressing you out. Yeah, the Ten of Wands is the most stressful card in the deck. And it's like wearing all of the responsibility on your shoulder, feeling really weighed down. So it's just something here where I really feel like, Pisces, you maybe are going to be able to use this period to protect yourself more. This could look like relying on other people more, delegating more. But I think for a lot of you guys, it's the boundaries of like, I'm not letting you encroach upon my energy. Venus retrograding through the first house, again, is going to bring back vitality. And that vitality is going to come because you're going to have a very strong sense of self. And you're not going to bend to the will of others. You're not going to just do what they say or think, or, question yourself because they said something, or put too much energy into something for someone else when you don't have energy for yourself. I think that you're going to really come into your own when it comes to you prioritizing yourself in your life, and that is through boundaries. So that's what I'm seeing for you, my Pisces. I think you're really going to get stuff moving forward, but it all comes from this clarity and facing something going on in a relationship, or with a company, with a person, with your partner, with a friend, with a parent, something with you and someone else, or something else in your life that you are in a relationship with. You're going to have to face something in regards to that. And by doing that, it's going to awaken a lot. It's going to create some new beginnings as a result of forgiving and letting things go. And you're going to put down some burdens that you've been carrying for far too long. And from that place of lightness, it's going to allow you to move forward in a more productive way in your life. So that is what I'm seeing for you, Pisces. If that resonates, please let me know in the comments down below. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up, subscribe, share with your friends, and have a beautiful day. Bye.